Hello and welcome to Namaste Today Live. It is finally Friday. Thank goddess it is. I am your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, here to help you evolve into your highest and greatest self using the power of love. We are moving into a new reality together, and it's so nice to have our community here. We are streaming live with Super Chat active right now. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, formerly known as Twitter, and now we are live on Instagram as well. If you're in the Super Chat, please tell us where you are watching from and say hello to our community. Hello, Stephanie, Dawn. Hello, Iggy. So nice to see you. Carol, hello. So nice to see you as well. How did I get here? I'm not sure how you got here. You might be lost. Me too. Nice to see you. Lori Ship, always a pleasure. Also, Sherry Clary, I like that. The Shots Method is here. Sydney Aaron is here. Nitu is here again. Nancy Rudy and Neptune Girl, of course, one of my favorites. It's going to be a fabulous week, my friends. We're into the sign of Aries now energetically. So we are developing what I call a Migo. We are reconstructing the Migo, and this Migo is for what I call the third Earth. I'll be talking about that. By the way, interestingly enough, we are today having a great show for you. Sorry, I had a little hiccup there. We have a lot going on this week. I mean, it's going to be such a powerful week you can't even imagine, because we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra on Monday. I'm expecting this to karate chop any bad attitudes you have and make you reboot your Migo. We also have Venus sextiling Jupiter and Uranus this week. That's going to upgrade the money potential. And Mercury is starting to slow down for April Fool's Mercury Retrograde. And later tonight, an expert on Mercury Retrograde, former school psychologist turned mystic, Jaime Goldstein, is here to talk about Mercury Retrograde and the Mercury Retrograde Alchemy Summit that she held in 2021. We'll hear about what she's learned in the summit and her thoughts on the upcoming retrograde on April Fool's Day. It's going to be a great interview. So without further ado, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. Zodiac weather is from Saturday, March 23rd to Friday, March 29th, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you're going to learn to believe in yourself and have a breakthrough about self-love. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and brave. Step 3 means that Jupiter rules the day. This is a day where you're going to expand and understand a new way of treating yourself. You could say you are drinking a cup of courage as you act on a new set of self-belief. And with the moon in Virgo, you are hyper-aware of everything. On Sunday, it's cloudy and rather bumpy. Step 4 means Uranus rules the day, so expect the unexpected. There may be a breakdown that leads to an innovative self-love policy. Basically, you're tuning your Migo. With Venus sextiling Jupiter, you're also recognizing that your spiritual evolution will turn into literal profitability, and the moon will shift into Libra on countdown for the eclipse. Looking ahead at the 5-day weekday moodcast, over the upcoming week, you're going to forge a new ego, but after a major eclipse. On Monday, it's cloudy with a chance of a wind advisory. Step 5 means Mercury rules the day, but this is the full moon lunar eclipse, which is going to cause you to think differently about yourself and give you a thoughtware upgrade. In simple terms, you're going to have a new mindset about the way you treat yourself and also a new approach to your marriage, which is your relationship to yourself. On Tuesday, it's sunny and relaxed as you experience the lunar eclipse hangover. Step 6 means that Venus rules the day, and with the moon in Libra, it's going to feel rather 6y. You are accepting yourself without any judgment now, and an elevated spiritual timeline is now coming into view. On Tuesday, it's cloudy, overcast, but holy. Step 7 means Neptune now rules the day, so this will be a spiritual day where you're finding your spiritual purpose for your ego and a more enlightened way of treating yourself. You're also going to manifest the spiritual way of going about things, and the moon will get more intense as it shifts from Libra into protective Scorpio. On Thursday, it's sunny and metamorphing. Step 8 means that Saturn rules the day. This will be the day where you feel the most responsible in the upcoming week. You're ready to commit to your new ego upgrades. That is a new way of treating yourself. You could say that you're reaching for the sun with your hope and expectations. And with Venus sextiling Uranus, you're now beginning to open up to the potential for some true abundance. And then on Friday, it's sunny and sheltering. Step 9 Aries means it's a grand master day for Aries. The new ego you've been working on all week comes into form. You are now aligning your spiritual octaves. You're feeling strong and likely reborn. It's a glorious day, and after a week of transforming your ego, you are now feeling strong. The moon in Scorpio shifts to Sagittarius, and now you're starting to feel that with this new ego, your life and story is finally starting to change.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
If you're watching on YouTube, please be so kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, SeriousJoy.tv. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video right now. Smash the like button so the algorithm will send us to other people who enjoy astrology. This week's Namaste Today Live is sponsored by the Unite the Light Lightworker Summit that we are having on May 18th and May 19th, 2024. Pre-sale tickets are now available, by the way. This will be at the Renaissance Austin in Austin, Texas. It's right by the Arboretum. It's absolutely beautiful. We found the most nature we could as far as the location. This is going to be posh, my friend, especially for light workers and people who want to be do-gooders on the planet. It's about inspiration, like-minded thinkers, light worker networking, a constitution of tenets, inside tips and tricks. We're going to do new era business models and give you client leads and technology secrets. We're going to have an elegant dinner, and we're going to have a meeting with the brightest planets, the brightest stars on the planet. And we have some compelling topics that we're going to talk about. When the light will inherit the earth, for instance, is one of our topics. Now, given that, we have some things that we are requesting. First of all, if you would like to be at this festival of light, so to speak, we'd love to have you there. Everyone is welcome, specifically people who want to elevate the light consciousness on the planet. Tickets are available at unitethelight.love, unitethelight.love, and I would recommend the VIP tickets are going fast. We also are looking for lightworker businesses who may want to sponsor Unite the Light or be a premier sponsor at Unite the Light. If you know of a lightworker business that's having a hard time reaching the demographic of do-gooders on the planet, or if you have a business that you want to promote to this sea of lightworkers, we'd love to hear from you sooner than later. Email us at support@seriousjoy.com, support@seriousjoy.com, and we'll forward it to our executive director. Looking forward to that. I'll have more information about other things that we're looking for Unite the Light at the end of the show. Incidentally, I think it's now time for us to come together as a community. I'll be talking about this. So if you get the slightest inkling that you're meant to be there, listen to your guides. I believe you are. It's going to be exciting. May 18th and 19th. I cannot wait to see people and meet people in person. All right, then, without further ado, let's move on to our planets and transits. Welcome to Planets and Transits. For those who are new to the show, welcome to our family of light here at Namaste Today Live. This show is basically broken into three major components. We have the Zodiac Weather at the top, planets and transits, which tells you what the show is about and what we're doing in the upcoming week. And then I have tea time horoscopes at the end of the show. Welcome to the family. Right now, we're in a very compelling time as far as I'm concerned, because we have been moving to a whole new, what I call era. I don't feel it's an age. I feel it's an era. I feel it's a very specific era. I feel it's an era that you and I were born here to be at this precise moment. And I myself have been growing tremendously. I don't know if you have felt this since Pluto moved into Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius on the first day of Aquarius this year in 2024. It did dip its toe in last year, but I got to say, I just sort of felt kind of a presence of Pluto, but I didn't really feel a real effect of Pluto. I am feeling the effect of Pluto in Aquarius right now. What it's doing is it has been chopping off the lower frequencies of our energy, chopping off old ways of being inside of ourselves. And by cutting away that heavy weight, that lower frequency energy, we are then allowed to climb and go higher. So far, ascension for me has been simply the cutting of the lower frequencies so that we can elevate higher. And in this capacity of elevating higher, I've begun to really start to see a whole new metro spiritual perspective on how metaphysics works. I've always been someone who's been fascinated by manifestation. It's really been the cornerstone of my career. In the very beginning, I realized the 11 steps of consciousness are what lead to manifestation. And in my research with people, I realized that the way we must manifest is we must unite our light inside of us. And when you unite your light, which means you unite all the planets in your chart to be working as one, and all the consciousness inside yourself to be working as one, I noticed that we manifest and we law of attract much faster. Well, since Pluto has moved into Aquarius, I've actually had a different opinion about how this works. I used to believe that by creating this vibration, if you be what you seek to come, that's what I used to say, what you be is what comes. I've now realized is what you be is what you become. It's now what you become. We become the vibration that we want to draw to us. And from what I've learned, it's not that we draw vibration and situations to us. It's that we live in a multidimensional reality where there is every possibility of every different way everything can happen. That's what I've come to understand. And I've come to understand this through a lot of my private studies. As you know, with Astro Mingle, I have been doing all these Astro Mingles. Well, what you may not know is I usually will do a trade with these people who come on Astro Mingle. So I've been absorbing information from amazing experts that know all their shift. Today, for instance, we have an expert on Mercury Retrograde. Can't wait to learn from Jaime. But as I've been absorbing all this information, because I've been so just focused on my own mission for 18 years. This is my 18th year at it, by the way. I haven't had the chance to really study and explore other people's opinions. Now I am. I'm at this point where I'm assimilating this information. And what it seems to be the case is that we don't manifest reality. We actually move from timeline to timeline. And this comes from a number of mediums, a number of experiences I've had. Bashar is one that I keep talking about because I've learned a lot watching his videos about how it all works from an alien in the future perspective. If you're familiar, great work. Daryl Anka, I think is his name, who channels that. And what we've come to realize, or what seems the consensus is that God creator has manifested and imagined every single aspect of every single way something can happen, not just for the whole world, but manifested how it can happen for you. So in other words, there is a timeline where you succeed. There's a timeline where you fail. There's a timeline where you get cheated on. There's a timeline where you cheat on someone else. I know it's hard to imagine because we have human minds, but from what I understand, there's a plethora of these timelines. And it's unlimited. Every single possibility has already been calculated in the universal mind of God consciousness. So as we change our vibration, as we be one vibe and move to another vibe, we actually switch like railroad tracks to these other conscious timelines that are coming from a different past and heading towards a different future. But in essence, they're all right here simultaneous right now. Now, what'll blow your mind is, as far as timelines are concerned, from what I'm studying, so are historical timelines. So, for instance, World War II is happening right now in God consciousness. So is the Great Depression. So is the Civil War. So is the discovery of new lands. Everything is happening simultaneously right now. And what allows us to move through time is actually our vibration. What I'm learning is there is a unique signature to every moment in time and every place in time. Remember, time and space are actually connected. So there's a time space location to where you are right now in your office watching me or on your TV watching me. There is an address. It's like an IP address. It's an energetic frequency. It's like an orchestral sort of frequency. And one thing that Bashar was saying, which I found to be absolutely fascinating, so I'm sharing it here with you all and giving him all the credit, is that the way alien ships move from their planet to Earth is it's not that they go through space, it's that the ship itself turns itself magically, its vibration using sound or using motion or drums. It can use all sorts of things to change the vibration. The ship will actually change its vibrational signature to the same signature of a place on Earth. And then it will pop, it'll exist instantly in that place. And apparently, we have the ability to also do that even with time. If you could identify the signature of a certain time on Earth, from what I understand, if you can change your body to vibrate at that time-space signature, you will appear in that space-time. Fascinating, right? Now, I know that's way out there, and perhaps you're not interested in visiting another time. I will, maybe for fun. In my retirement, I'll just be popping in and out, holding on to crystals. My wife will be like, where the fuck did he go? He's in 1876 again. I don't know why. But the point is that knowing this sort of architecture of the universe means that there is a signature to the story you were born to live. There is a place in space-time that your heart wants to be. And so it seems to me ascension is not this idea that we vibrate and go somewhere else and in like higher up into another dimension. It's that we tune into that dimension and we are suddenly in that dimension. And it makes total sense. There seems to be operatives on the planet that are causing our vibration to constantly be held down, to be heavier, such as toxins in our food, fluoride in our water, stuff in our air, in our atmosphere. I don't know, God knows what they're spraying out of those planes. All these different chemical intrusions are, in fact, messing up the signal and I think preventing us from moving on to our timeline. So this is why it's very important to live as pure of a life as you can, not because of the ethics of it or the morals, but because it gives you the freedom to be able to manifest the timeline or go to the timeline you seek to go to. Super interesting stuff. Now, with that said, I want to talk about Earth 3. What is Earth 3? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I actually went to a Gaia conference over the weekend, last weekend, Gaia TV. They do a lot of spiritual TV. It is, you have to pay to subscribe to go. They don't think they have anything free on there. It was an interesting event. It was nice to be in the Gaia studios. I was looking around, digging it, liking the staff, enjoying the people. A couple of subscribers watching right now were there. It was so nice to see and meet them. I thought I was going to see Bashar there, but I'm going to just say to Gaia, they did a bait and switch and switched it out the last moment. Shame, Gaia, shame. I was very upset about that, but I'll let it go. I'm going to meet him another time. The point, though, is one of the speakers was speaking to 5D, what the fifth dimension is. And she gave all sorts of diagrams about what the different dimensional frequencies look like. And that one of the things she said that was interesting was that the fourth dimension is actually kind of a hallway that leads to dimensions. It's not really its own dimension. It's a dimension between dimensions is what she was saying. So you have to go through the fourth to get to the fifth, just like you got to go through the hall to go outside. Okay, so it's sort of like it's a hallway. And yep, apparently there's all sorts of icky species that live in the fourth dimension and try to drain us of our light and our energy. So yeah, there's a lot of spiritual bacteria in the fourth dimension, apparently. It's apparently sort of a cesspool as far as how much, what's what I'm looking for, parasites are living in the fourth dimension. But I digress. What she did say, which was interesting, is that, 5D does come from raising your vibration to that level. And she was saying that we actually pop in and out of 5D all the time. And by the way, when you're in 5D, you still see people in 4D, you still see people in 3D. It's just like kind of like an Easter egg. God unlocks special privileges in 5D. So you get like new features to the house or new features to the software, apparently. But one of the most profound things that she said that I was just captivated by was that she said there are currently 3 Earths in reality. There are 3 different Earth timelines. Now, this resonated as true in my heart. And that's how I do BS detector, by the way. My heart can feel if it resonates or it doesn't resonate, or at least it resonated on the timeline I'm on. So in my timeline, there's 3 Earths. And what I liken this to are trunk timelines. So you are on a trunk timeline. A trunk timeline is where there are many, 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 many souls that are all in agreement, or agreement is the word, as to where they're headed and where fate is headed. They have signed up for a certain story. So what she was saying is that there are 3 different Earth timeline stories, okay? And all of us are signed up for one of these 3 stories. And she said that we can hop between these at any time we want if we're aware and we changed our frequency and our vibration. The first Earth story, Earth 1, she said will be destroyed. She said that Earth is not going to make it. It's going to collapse and reboot all of its life again. And no one on Earth 1 is going to survive. That's what she said. It's going to reboot. And so Earth will reboot herself. Obviously, I feel like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. That one is too cold. Like, I don't like that. Earth 2, she said, was a timeline where we would continue to struggle. And it would be this frequency war over and over again between the parasites and the life. So the life and the parasites are fighting for a long time and they stay and struggle. That's Earth 2. Earth 3 is the Earth that we ascend upon, where the population gets it and they start to evolve higher into the light. And that means the trunk of the population will stay in the 5th dimension for the most part. So I just want to tell you, starting in June, we'll be broadcasting from Earth 3. I'm going to be only broadcasting from Earth 3. We will serve Earth 2 people, and we will serve snacks to Earth 1 people. But ultimately, we're here for Earth 3. I'm having t-shirts printed up. I'm on Earth 3 like you are here, Earth 3. I'm going to do the whole 9 yards. I'm going to try to create Earth 3 t-shirts for Unite the Light, for instance. But yes, I picked door number 3 also, Kat. Like, let's go to door number 3. It's sort of like a game show to me. Like, what will we be? What will be the door we go behind? Behind door number 3. So the point, though, is right now, this moment, believe it or not, I have a point that actually hits this moment. Yeah, let's do those t-shirts. You are here on Earth 3. The point is that you are going to determine what Earth you're on this week. Now, that's not to say you can't shift Earths later. I think you can. I feel you can. I'll find out when I talk to Daryl. But from what I understand, we have our first opportunity to hop Earths really this week. And it comes from the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra that is happening this Monday. If you're not familiar with the lunar eclipse, it's sort of a karate chop. Hi-ya! It's sort of like when consciousness will just do a real quick sting, like a Scorpio stinger or a bee sting. It's sort of an energetic sting. It can hurt. It depends on how in denial you are. So if you're super in denial, it's a total slap up. It's a boot to the head. Like you get booted upside the head and you're like, what the happened? Okay. So there are some people who will, between really now, it starts now on Friday. We're in the zone right now. We're in the lunar eclipse zone. You could be slapped upside the head anytime between now and Monday. I am not trying to create fear. I honestly don't think anyone watching this would actually be slapped up inside the head. I feel like Earth 2 people and Earth 1 people will have the hardest slap. I think Earth 3 people will have this sort of like, I did not realize I was in my own way. So I think it will be just a realization. And I actually, honestly, I think it's fair to say, again, this is not to divide people. This is not to judge people. This is to give you a spectrum of your spiritual growth, a ladder from which you can understand, am I growing or am I not? That's one of the things I'm here to do as Sensei, is I'm here to sort of create a curriculum, create a ladder for how do we effing climb up to the 5th dimension? Like, how do you do it, right? Like, We don't have, any of the Ascended Masters around, at least at the moment. Saint Germain just tapped me on the shoulder and said, like hell. But you know what I'm saying? They're not visible for us to guide us. So it's up to us to do this. But what I'm getting at is, depending on how hard this eclipse hits you between now and next Wednesday, next Thursday, is a good indicator of what Earth you are currently on. The destruction Earth, like the one that's going down, like the dinosaurs, the uncomfortable struggle bus of Earth 2 on the struggle bus, or are you on the rainbow bus, Earth 3? And again, I think we can switch buses or switch Earths many times. I think it happens many times. All right. I think if there's the only time limit is the Earth 1. If it's going to be destroyed, then you sure as hell want to get off the hell of that bus as fast as possible. Earth 2, life's always been a struggle. I can see you stuck on that Earth for a few more lifetimes. Earth 3 is like sunshine, Tropicana. It's Margaritaville, so to speak. But how difficult this eclipse hits you is a good indicator of, what floor you are currently on when it comes to ascension. But a karate chop is sort of like the universe pulling the rug out from under us and making us reorientate ourselves, because we got a little too crusty and a little too stuck in a current way of thinking, a current way of consciousness. We get a little too stuck in our own stuff. Now, this is amplified as true because the lunar eclipse is in Libra. Let's switch it. The lunar eclipse is in Libra and the sun is in Aries. So the sun right now is in the sign of ego, and more specifically, what I call the Migo. All right. And the eclipse is in Libra, which is the opposite of Mars. So Aries is our ego. Libra is our reception, the way we open up, the way we accept, the way we relate to things. One's the way we do things. One's the way we relate to things. Between the two, this is the balance of yin-yang energy on the planet. Ego is yang. Libra is yin. All right. So if you understand those principles, you know what that is. So the eclipse is saying the problem is not the ego, which is a problem, but let's put it this way. The karate chop is not on the ego. It will be chopped to some degree, but really what gets chopped is the lunar eclipse, the way you relate. It's the way you relate to yourself that is keeping you on the wrong earth. The way you approach yourself, the way you look at yourself in the mirror, the rules you sign up for when you approach yourself, the way you treat yourself, the assumptions you make, the prejudices you have when you approach yourself, you are still thinking like Earth 2 or Earth 1, probably Earth 2 for most people. You're thinking of Earth 2 still. You're still thinking that life is a struggle. And so it is, says reality. If life is a struggle, then you're on the timeline of the struggle bus, Earth 2. So this karate chop, which happens on Monday at 5 degrees Libra, is in essence a lunar eclipse smacking and putting the shadow, like shadowing out basically the moon with all the Earth's shadow. So you can sort of feel the shadow, the dark side, the parasitical side, the loveless side, the painful side of how you relate to yourself. What this eclipse is saying is the only thing in the way of you hopping to Earth 2 or Earth 3 is that you still look at yourself as an Earth 2 or an Earth 1 citizen, that you keep seeing yourself either heading down a road for disaster, or life is always struggle, it never cleans up, or I got this. This is going to be fine. This is going to be cool. And I've come to realize, and I'm going to really blow your mind, okay? And that is, I am now convinced that I will elect the president of the United States. It will be me. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I'm not going to even worry about who to vote for or whatever. I'm not going to worry about polls or about CNN or about anything. I'm just going to get on the bus that has my pick as president. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell anybody what my pick is. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe I won't, in my reality. But I've changed the way I look at the future. I no longer see the future as this struggle. We got to fight to be able to get this person president. We got to fight against this political party or that political party. We got to fight in order to show the world or save this or save the children or save this. Yeah, I do want to do all those things. I'm not saying it, but I don't have to fight to make that happen. That's the struggle bus. Earth 2. I'm going to go over to Earth 3, where it is allowed, understood, accepted, agreed upon that we are doing things for the highest possible good in life, that we're a heart-based civilization wanting heart-based artifact. Now, this is an experiment. I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I'll let you know after the election if I pulled it off. I'll tell you. I'll be like, I didn't make the Earth bus. Sorry. I'm still working on it. So that might be the case. But I'm going to give it a try. I am like, one of the things that I've been doing with Pluto and Aquarius is I've been actually trying to use my magical powers. I literally am trying to elevate my frequency, see what happens. Watch my frequency lower, notice what happens. Have something that catch my frequency in a bind inside of me, deliberately raise it to the new frequency, pull it back up again. I've been a frequency monster, like a Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. I have been constantly doing frequency tests over and over and over again and trying to get myself to see if I can keep myself on Earth 3 and to see if I can keep myself heading for the timeline where I get everything my heart wants. Now, some people say you can't have everything your heart wants. I'll be like, maybe not on your timeline. And is it greedy? No, I don't want to step on anyone. I don't want anyone to go without. I think everybody can do this. This is heaven on earth. This is our ability to manifest, but not really manifest. It's our ability to move through space-time to the frequency where everything is a party. It's a total example. Did you ever see Men in Black 3? Men in Black 3 actually just came to mind. So my guides are bringing me. In Men in Black 3, there's like this weird alien who can see in the fifth dimension. They literally call him a fifth dimensional something or another. And so he like shows, he's always talking about all the probabilities of what could happen. And that's sort of the joke in the whole movie. And he's just like, unless this is the timeline where someone walks through the door and steps over someone and this happens. I saw that movie the other day and I was like, holy shit. When I saw that movie originally, I thought it was a good creative idea. Now I'm like, someone on Men in Black 3 knows how it works from what I can tell. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. So where are we this week? Going back to this week, how does this affect you? Let me tell you about you. We have been spending the last 12 years since Neptune moved into Pisces in 2012, the last time Jupiter was in Taurus, an entire 12-year cycle as Jupiter moved through every sign in the zodiac through those 12 years. We have been changing what we believe about each sign. So it was in Taurus 12 years ago. Change what we believe about Gemini, change what we believe about Cancer, change what we believe about Leo. You change your beliefs, okay? And what was happening is Neptune was in Pisces the whole time that Jupiter was going around the clock and helping us change our beliefs about all these states of awareness. That was the unzipping of the old karmic timeline, the karmic timeline of where you were stuck in repeating karmic cycles. And then where you kept doing the same thing lifetime after lifetime, the light bulb never came on. You never figured out these are your spiritual patterns. You weren't even thinking in spiritual patterns. You were thinking in patterns of the mundane and patterns of the moment. Okay. We have awakened everyone. I mean, if you look around, people are talking about past lives. I had someone today, I went to the stylist today. I don't know how my hair is looking. It's look a little bright, but she was telling me that like she was on I don't know if she doesn't watch the show, so we're okay. But she was saying that she was actually asked on a date what her sign was, and she's never paid attention to signs. But, for her, there's like, wow, thank God I know you was kind of her thing. I was like, yep, I got you, girl. But like the whole point was that she, like people who don't normally think about astrology or signs are starting to talk about it. Look at TikTok. Have you ever seen TikTok? Like do a search for hashtag astrology. It's like 1 billion views. So the point is we have awakened in the last 12 years. And this year, as Pluto moves into Aquarius and Saturn now is up at 11 and 12 degrees Pisces, this whole eclipse, I'm coming back to the eclipse. Yes, this has a through line, is that we are now ready. The last like plug in the bottle is the ego. The ego is the part of us that resists. The ego is the part of you that says no, that puts on the brakes, that pushes, that resists, that creates tension. So if we're going to karate chop the opposite of the ego, like a tree, it's going to fall. And I believe that's what's going to happen. I believe the final, like, holding on of the old ego timeline. The old ego timeline is school bus 2, earth 2, life's a struggle. You have to struggle to survive, survival of the fittest. Only the greatest get this. Only some people have opportunity, diversity, no diversity, racism, all this struggle, the earth 2 struggle bus. Okay. Our ego is currently formatted for the earth 2 struggle bus. And what this eclipse does is karate chop that ego by coming in through the wife. Okay. Because that's what Libra is like the wife to the ram, basically. The scales of justice are the misses of the ram. So coming in through the wife of what the wife will accept or not accept, that is what karate chops the ego. So what we're basically doing in this eclipse is we are karate chopping our ego that was a survival, specifically our migo of survival. I believe that the first 10 degrees of the ego or Aries is called the migo. How I make me go. That's a term that I invented, of course, with my Saturn in Gemini. I feel the right to. to expand the Webster's dictionary. I have the right. But the point is that once this migo dies, once your illusion that you're on the struggle bus dies, then you can get on to Earth 3, is what I'm understanding from this. So how does this play out into practical matters? Well, what it comes down to is changing the way you respond to yourself. If you respond to yourself, so let's say there's a crisis. If you respond that it's a crisis, you stay on Earth 2. If you respond as an opportunity, you're on Earth 3. So the keys to the bus is the way you respond to yourself, not others. It doesn't matter how you respond to others. That's a myth. That is a myth that the organized religion created to keep you away from your power. Your power is how you respond to yourself. You're a child of God. Your reality is being formed by you right now. Technically, right now, we're all in heaven, asleep right now, in a united dream. That's reality. We're in heaven right now, and I'm talking to you in a dream. That's reality. That's what reality actually is. So why would it matter in how I respond to someone else in the illusion, in the dream? The only thing that matters is I have to respond to the dream maker, the dream caster, me. You have to respond to you. That is our power. So this eclipse is the opportunity to open up to responding differently, to let go of holding on to the struggle bus, to step away from this idea that life is hard and is a struggle. That is a myth to keep us all on a timeline where a certain few at the top all benefit from our struggle. That's the truth. Now, is the answer communism? No, communism is on Earth too. That's the struggle bus. That's another way of controlling people by telling them that they have the right to have equal rights. God already made us a communism. We already have equal rights. And if you just get on Earth 3, you can have everything you want. That person can have everything they want. God already created this solution. We don't need to mess with it with laws and other ways of control, in my humble opinion. Now, my opinion will be more humble after Monday, once my ego is karate chopped by the eclipse. All right, are we there? Okay, so moving forward to this week. What is this week's theme? Forging a new Migo. We are forging a new Migo this week. You are going to create and craft like a blacksmith in a hot shop. You are going to bang, 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 bang. You're going to forge a new Migo. You're going to create this new Migo. Why is it forging? Because a Migo resists by its nature. It's not going to take very lightly that it's about to die. In fact, your Migo is going to fight to survive. So when you try to respond differently, your Migo is going to go, no, let's go back to the way it was. Because the nature of the Migo is to keep things current and going the same way they've always been, even if it's a bad way, a painful way, a hard way. So you have to forge it. You have to force it to actually change its behavior. And when it tries to fight back, which it's programmed to do, you have to say, nope, your time is up. I'm sorry, you are staying on Earth 2, Migo. I, amigo, am going to Earth 3, where there is no struggle, where things just happen like heaven. Now, the subplot of this week is releasing self-limitations. Releasing self-limitations. So you have unfortunately watched television, listened to the radio, read the books. Honestly, everything is corrupt with Earth 2 programming. Everything. I don't see any Earth 3 programming hardly anywhere. So you have been programmed to think you can't, it's hard, you don't have the money, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not wealthy enough, you're not tall enough. Like, it's all bullshit. Okay. And I'm just going to say it out loud with a cuss word. It's not true. You are the only thing that has put limits on your potential. You are. And you may say, well, my mother, you chose your mother. You knew in heaven when you went into the dream that you're going to have her as your mother. If you keep blaming the world, you're actually not going to have your power. Again, the way you respond in the world has nothing to do with the dream you're creating. So if you want to blame other people for where you are, that's fine. That's struggle bus programming, and you will stay on the struggle bus. Stay on as long as you want. I'll send you a postcard. Okay. We can still be friends in heaven. It's your choice to stay on the struggle bus. I don't really care. I know I've been on it for 10,000 years. So, I haven't been on Earth 3 in a long time. I am from a planet of Earth 3, I'm pretty sure, because that's how I know the way to it. So we're releasing this week the self-limitations that we put on ourselves, and it comes in the mind. This is a step 5 lunar eclipse. It's your mind, what I call the smart ass. So you got the ego, which is the dumbass, and you got the mind, which is the smart ass. And these two asses have been running us down the struggle bus and just eating up the programming of limitations and can't do it and all this stuff. And these two in my life are fired. They're off they're off my board of directors. I'm going to have some new ego and new mindset, which, by the way, the mind and the ego can both be reset. That's what the rising of the phoenix is. It's the birth of the ego. That's what a brainwashing is. That's the rebirth of a mind. The mind and the ego are programmable. They are not anything that is permanent. They are for the moment only. So we release our ideas of self-limitations this week. Anything is possible. Anything goes. That has to be the mantra if you want to get onto the new earth. So the question of the week is, how do I get the best of me? How do I get the best out of me? That's really how you look at it. You got to look at yourself like a piece of art, like, kind of like the fairy godmother of Cinderella. Like, okay, this girl needs some shoes, and she needs a pumpkin coach, and she needs a date. So like, we need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, how do I get the best out of me? What conditions would bring the best out of me? What would make me thrive? What would make me just go to the sky? What would bring, and if you go, I need money. Oh, if you need money, you're not creative. Okay. There certainly wasn't money when we were running around as apes in the jungle, and somehow we evolved to this. So I don't want to hear about money or resources or whatever. That's part of the struggle bus. That's part of the programming, the struggle bus. God gave us all the technology in our soul to manifest anything we want. If you think you need money, you're on the struggle bus. You're on Earth 2. All right. So what will it take to get the best out of me? That's the key question of the week, and be thinking about it all week long. So let's look at this in more of a nano. We're all grown. Thank you for the permission to cuss. I know it's just a little, it's not very creative cussing. So let's start with the sign of Aries. In Aries this week, we have the Sun, Mercury, Chiron, and the North Node all in Aries this week. Energetically, the Sun moves from step 3 to step 9. That's our heart. So our heart, today we're in step 2. So today's a little saucy, a little sassy. I don't know if you noticed, I'm a little saucy tonight. It's the step 2 energy. I'm under the liquor of emotion. Tomorrow we start to believe something different. On Sunday, there is a breakdown. So the first breakdown, I wouldn't be surprised if most people experience their lunar eclipse breakdown on Sunday. Okay. On Sunday. That's why it's called Sunday, by the way. So I think that on Sunday, we're going to have a breakdown. Venus will sextile Jupiter. I'll show you the chart of that a little bit later. And ultimately, the moon will be in Scorpio. So we're going to be ready to kill. We probably let go of the old earth on Sunday. Then on Monday is the eclipse. It's very early in the morning. I'll show you the chart of the eclipse. So some people will be sleeping through it, which is why I think Sunday is when it actually starts to happen. All right. So we have that moment. And then on Monday, what happens is it's at step 5. This is where you have the karate chop to both the Migo, which is Aries, and the mind, which is step 5. So the smartass and the dumbass are being karate chopped together. The two co-conspirators in our soul that keep us on the struggle bus is ultimately the mind and the ego. So those get karate chopped. Now, this just came to mind. It could be a question. What if a person resists and doubles down? If you resist and double down and you heal and you decide to stay on the same struggle bus of Earth 2, I'm not sure what happens. You certainly don't get to go to the next Earth. I think you get stronger and more fortified. I think it makes you stronger. I think it makes you stronger to handle the struggle better. So I think you become a better struggler and a better snuggler in the struggler world. If you are self-destructive, then you're going to be on Earth 1 and you'll be on the Earth that wants to go and wants to get off this planet. So you'll be on that bus, heading to God knows where. So you can resist and you can be fine, and you'll just end up being stronger on the bus that you're currently on or on the Earth that you are currently on. So Monday, we have a change of mind. Tuesday, step 6, we go, wow, I don't think I'm on the same Earth anymore. Or I think I've recognized where my ego is against me and working against me. Okay. Wednesday, step 7, that's intuitive. That's when you're like, holy moly, hallelujah. I have made it. I am no longer the same a-hole that I was to myself. I'm ending the a-hole I've been to myself. I am putting that ego to rest. It is being retired. Thursday, step 8, hell yeah, I'm committed to this new ego. I'm ready to be the one that does the job. And then Friday of next week, when I'm live on this show again with you fine folks, it's step 9. That's the Grandmaster step of Aries. That's when the new Migo is born. Ta-da! The Super Migo is born. The Migo that's going to be your amigo in life. No longer will your Migo go against you. Your Migo will be your amigo. It will be your best friend. It'll be like a little dog that fetches the stick. It will always be there to support your happiness, and it hates struggle as much as you do. That's the New Age Migo. And by the way, we call that the winged Migo, the Migo that can fly, because it's not held down by the lower frequencies of the old world. Mercury this week starting to slow down because it goes retrograde next Monday, a week from this Monday, April 1st. Yep, is that right? Yeah, I think so. Yep. On April 1st, I think it's that Monday or not. So it's starting to slow down. And that's because, I mean, if you want to put this into a story, it's like Mercury's like, whoa, 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 you're changing Migos? Oh, if you're changing Migos, well, shift. Everything's going to have to change. I can't look at all my plans the same way. I was planning to struggle. I was planning to, buy something I couldn't afford. I was planning to tolerate a narcissist. I was planning on proving them that they're wrong and showing them that I'm right and they're wrong. Struggle. Anytime you prove that you're right and they're wrong, you're on the struggle bus. Okay, just letting you know. So Mercury is slowing down this week. Mercury starts at step 21 and ends up at step 26 by the end of the week, which means Mercury goes, okay, I'm committed. Yes, I'm going to commit to this. This is my new action plan, because Aries is our action plan. But basically, if Mercury realizes there's a new Migo, that's what the retrograde is going to be. The retrograde is going to be like, okay, beep, beep, beep. We got to back this bus up, says Mercury, and we're going to retrograde and have to rethink all of our plans, because our plans were crafted with the old Earth 2 Migo, not the Earth 3 Migo. So I believe the Mercury retrograde is a Migo ruled Mercury. Now, we'll find out from Jaime Goldstein what she thinks. I'm sure she has a whole nother dimension to bring as a Mercury retrograde expert. And then, of course, we have Chiron still at 18 on my Chiron, by the way. So if you're like, what has gotten into Sensei? I'm done with my Chiron returns. That's what's gotten into me. I'm feeling light as a feather. I just dumped all that baggage. It will not make it onto Earth 3. So Chiron's at 18. That means we're facing times where we should have done something differently, behaved differently. So basically a jackass moment. That jackass moment for me was in the year around 560, I think, that I'm still worried about. Not anymore. I'm healed over that year 560. I'm cool with it now. But basically, some jackass moment that you once turned the wrong turn in Albuquerque, or you did the wrong thing or behaved the wrong thing, that gets healed this week. That'll be healed even more when the sun crosses that, by the way, but it is healing. And the North Node's still at step 15, which means that the path of least resistance is the escalator that leads to Earth 3. Now, back in Pisces, we still have a lot of party going on. For one, in Pisces, Mars, the ruler of Aries, the ruler of the Migo, is now going from 0 to 5 degrees of Pisces, which means that we are going to now implement the new spiritual timeline inside of ourselves. That is now time to go ahead and live according to that new spiritual timeline. That spiritual timeline was the program you selected on the with the cruise director in heaven. You're like, I'll take this at age 45. I'll take this travel tour. So Mars is implementing now those travel plans that you had created before you came into this reality that is really a dream. Venus is from step 14 to step 21. So we now open up. Venus is the ruler of Libra. Venus is also what we're opening up to. Venus is the wife of Aries, so to speak, in my opinion, or the female counterpart. I mean, they could, in this reality, Mars can be wearing a dress and Venus can be wearing a tuxedo. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that you still have these two primal forces, yin and yang. Okay. So the yin energy is opening up and accepting a new idea about this new spiritual timeline, all the way to where does this timeline lead? Step 21. So you kind of go, wow, where's all this going, this timeline? I can't remember since heaven what I signed up for. Saturn goes from step 12 to step 13. Now, this is a biggie. This is on Monday. So on the day of the eclipse, you can't write this shift. On the day of the eclipse, Saturn goes multidimensional, 13. Saturn basically has a baby with Uranus, which is the ruler. This is Neptune, actually. But Saturn has a baby with Uranus, which is the ruler of 13. I realized, like, wait, why is Uranus blue? It's because it's Neptune. So what that means is our control, we basically, this proves that we shift spiritual timelines on Monday, because Saturn goes to 13 on Monday. That's what's amazing. So you will change Earths, I believe, on Monday as soon as you retire or fortify the old Migo. And Neptune is still at 27 Pisces, which means we are on the road again. This is our spiritual travel. We're happy. And we know it. Clap our hands. All right, let's look at the moons. The moon right now is in Virgo. If you don't know, I am being very detailed as hell. That's because the moon's in Virgo. I am sharp as a fiddle. So we are really facing reality. So Saturday and Sunday is very much about, oh God, I hate this timeline. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired of the struggle. Moon in Virgo is like, oh, did you look at this? And the bill that's due and your house is cracked and your wife is cheating on you. And so the moon in Virgo is just like all the things wrong with this struggle bus. So every time it comes, go like, thank you, Moon in Virgo, thank you. Because, Virgo, they point out all the things we want to ignore, right? Then on Sunday night, the moon goes into Libra, which begins the countdown of the full moon lunar eclipse. So we start to feel super emotional, okay, which builds up into the middle of the night. So it's like early Monday morning. I can't remember. I can't remember. We'll find out when we pull up the chart. I can't remember time zones because I'm always looking at the East Coast, but then I'm like, what is that going to be here where I'm at in the Mountain Central Time? All right. But the moon goes into Libra, and that's the point where we're like, I just can't open up. I can't accept this. If you want to look at what Libra is, it's what you can accept or not accept. So the moon in Libra is going to be like, nope, I can't accept this anymore. I just can't take this anymore. So that's what the lunar eclipse is. I'm not, get out. I'm divorcing you, Yang. I'm done with you. That's what the lunar eclipse is going to be. I'm done. Sorry. No, you're not sleeping with me. Sleep on the couch. So the moon in Libra in that eclipse is basically saying, it ain't going to happen here. You don't have to go home, but you're not staying here. Okay. So that's the moon in Libra. Then we spend the next couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, oh, I hope I did the right thing. Geez, is this really going to happen? So we go back and forth in our typical moon in Libra kind of way. Then comes Wednesday night, the moon goes into Scorpio. Actually Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday night, maybe Thursday. Depends on what I'm looking at. But once it goes into Scorpio, we're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm getting a divorce with Yang. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm totally about it. We're drawing the lines. It's done. It's dead to me, says the moon in Scorpio. And then, and the moon in Scorpio stays all the way until Friday. So it's dead to me is basically Thursday night and Friday all day. So basically in 1 week, we forge the new Migo and we divorce the old Migo. Of course, in Aquarius, we still have Pluto at step 1. So Pluto at step 1 does mean you've got to protect self-love. There's no way you're going to make it onto Earth 3 if you're not loving yourself and loving yourself some more. In the sign of Virgo, we still have Black Moon Lilith, Black Moon Lilith in Virgo is saying, oh God, I hope this turns out okay. And by the way, the moon will cross Black Moon Lilith this weekend. So this weekend, you will face your fears of change. Okay. You're gonna fear change. You're gonna fear it's not gonna work out. You're gonna fear all that fear is all Earth 2 BS. Okay. Don't even worry about it. It will stay with the Earth. And then if we move into the sign of manifestation, Taurus, this week, Jupiter goes from 15 to 16 Taurus. So Jupiter at 15 has been saying, yeah, I'm cool. I think I'm worth this. I'm possible this. And then Jupiter at 16 is basically you accessing your spiritual bank account. What's my spiritual bank account? I'll tell you next week. I can't say everything in 1 week. I will be talking about this week in Serious Joy and all the pep talks all week. So if you're a subscriber, you do get early access to this information. But we do access our spiritual bank account when Jupiter goes to 16. And guess what day it goes to 16? On Monday. Thank you very much. It will be on Monday, exactly the day I said that we will change everything. So Jupiter changes signs and we access our spiritual bank account. So for those who go to Earth 3, you must know you have an unlimited bank account from the universe that has unlimited expenditures possible. We'll be talking about that next Friday with those who are joining me here on Earth 2 or 3 television. And then, of course, Uranus at step 20 means it sky's the limit to how far this manifestation can go. If you don't know, 20 is one of the most abundant degrees there is. Now, that's abundant drama, too. That could be abundant drama. It has to be, if you don't pay attention to 0 in that 20, you can manifest a whole bunch of misfires and huge, master problems and issues and master breakdowns. But if you have the proper boundary 0 and you focus that emotion, the 2, you can go, there's no limit to how far you can manifest. So basically, once Jupiter hits 16, you're accessing an unlimited spiritual bank account with Uranus at step 20. Fun, huh? Super fun. All right, so let's take a look real quickly at a couple of charts. Fortunately, there's not much going on in transit this week. This is my guest. Keep streaming for Jaime Goldstein, an expert in Mercury Retrograde. It's going to be fun and fabulous. We start here with Saturday. Now, I'm just showing a generic chart here. The point here on Saturday is, the sun is at 3, so it's like you got to believe in Earth 3. You got to believe that you can get rid of this ego. Mercury at 21, net 3. You got to believe, you got to believe. Mars goes into Pisces. So Mars is on its way into Pisces right now. In fact, I don't know, maybe someone in the chat can tell me if Mars is in Pisces yet. I didn't look at the time. I think we'll feel it because all of our energy is going to fall flat for a minute. But Mars in Pisces is so much more gentle. Mind you, Mars is the ruler of Aries. So this will be a gentle transition in between Migos. That's very nice. Moving on to Sunday real quick. We hit the step 4. So Sunday is when I really think that shift hits the fan. I think this is where the Migo makes such a big mistake on Sunday that you are red in the face and you realize there's no way I can do this way. Look at Mercury at 22 net 4, right when the sun is at 4. You think that's an accident? That is metaphysics in action, my friend. Mars now at step 1 says, love yourself and love yourself some more. Pluto semi-sextiling at step 1 says, yeah, man, you got to love yourself. It's really important to do that. All right, then we get to, which happens first? I think actually the eclipse happens first. Let's change the order there. We have the eclipse. Oh my God, I forgot. It's exactly at 3 a.m. on the East Coast is the apex of the eclipse. Exactly at 3 a.m. 5 degrees, 7 minutes. All right. One day I'll release what the minutes mean in my book. But this eclipse is at step 5. As you can see, the moon over here at step 5. This is where yin says to yang, no, I'm just not going there anymore. I want a divorce. So this is where the moon asks for a divorce. It does no longer wants to be treated. You cannot treat me like that, says the moon. South node at 15 means, relationships are ending. 15 is the grandmaster number of Libra. So relationships are ending. By the way, any Migo, any relationship based on the old Migo is officially gone unless you renegotiate, which I highly doubt will happen. So I am predicting lots of breakups after this eclipse, because people realize once they treat themselves better that they have not been getting the treatment they deserve, whatever that happens to mean for you. But in this eclipse at the same time, Venus at Grandmaster 16 Pisces. So this is a spiritual moment. Mercury at Grandmaster 23 Aries. So this is a new mindset about where things are going. Black Moon Lilith at 19. Oh God, I'm afraid it won't turn out the way I hope to. Chiron at 18. This is healing the time where you were a jackass in a past life. So basically it's of interest here. Also the moon trining Pluto, pretty powerful there. It's like, because I'm going to love myself more, I'm not going to have this attitude about myself anymore. I'm letting go. I'm no longer tolerating this me-go. Venus of Neptune, of course, at 27 degrees, which is I almost went to the wrong interface here. Then we have later in the day. This is interesting. This happens at 12:36 p.m. Remember, it apexed at 3 a.m. We have Venus sextiling Jupiter. And this is literally, it's like Venus sextiling Jupiter is basically saying, okay, now that you've changed, is this on the day before? This is the day before. These are out of order. Holy moly. So actually, this happens the day before. Forgive me. We'll call that Mercury Retrograde in the waking. My damn old Migo did that. I didn't. But basically what happens, it's important to know because it actually lasts more than a day. But Venus, part of the breakdown on 4 is the fact that you realize you deserve more. That's what it is. It's like, I deserve more. I deserve more in life. I want a timeline that's peaceful. I want my inheritance. I deserve more. That's the lead up. Then we have the eclipse that goes, okay, I deserve more. You're not paying me enough. Alimony is going to be a bitch for you. And then we go on to the week. This is my normal day. We talked about this already, 326. Basically, as we go through the week, we now accept the new Migo. Step 6, it's like, okay, I can accept these terms. The moon is moving up through Libra the whole week. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm leaving this Migo, then that means these relationships won't work. These deals in the future won't work. I'm not aligning myself with these people anymore. So this is a chain reaction of divorce, of breakup that happens to the whole week that ends up unfolding because if this guy is out on the curb, then this woman is leaving all the relationships that were tied to this energy is what I think. All right. Then we get to step on the 27th. The sun goes to 7, which is sort of a holy moly moment. Like, look at this. Mercury at 25, net 7, when the sun is at net 7. Is that an accident? Heck no. But Saturn didn't go to 13, which means we're now between spiritual timelines. Then we get to Thursday. What happens? We hit step 8, so now we commit. Look at Mars goes to 4, so now our ego is operating on a higher level. Saturn at 13, net 4. Mars at 4. Jupiter is now gone to 16. We're accessing our spiritual bank account. Super cool. And then I think the last of the week is, right. So we had Venus sextile Jupiter at 15. And then we have Venus sextile Uranus at 20. What that ultimately is a changing of our spiritual economy. Basically, Venus in Pisces is saying, okay, I'm on the phone with those heavenly creditors. And according to the Heaven Credit Council, your account for unlimited potential of abundance is now open. So I think this is where you get the new spiritual bank account access. It happens, I believe, I think that's what this is. I feel like this is what this is. If you've been like, I can't manifest anything to save my life, that's Earth 2. You're on the struggle bus. As soon as this happens, I think the spiritual bank account opens up and sextiles in. And we'll be talking about this all week, again, on SeriousJoy.tv. Or actually, SeriousJoy.com. I miss you saying .tv. All right, friends. That is the week in a nutshell. But you're probably wondering, how does this affect you? I just did something on my computer. There we go. So I'd say it's time to go steep yourself some tea. Oops, look at that green screen working. I have a green screen on. Can you tell I have a green screen? First time I'm using a green screen. Go steep yourself some tea and let's have our weekly tea time. Alrighty, welcome to Tea Time, where I get super intimate on the 12 signs and what you can expect for the upcoming week. It's going to be a great week, I think, for changes. And let me get to this. Thank you very much. It has been deep, EB. I had a lot saving up for this moment. I've been waiting. Yeah, I'm going to wear a green screen to where like you can see through my chest or something. That'll be fun. So this week, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about for all 12 signs, what the sun, where the Migo is dying in your life. Okay. So again, I can't say this enough, but I say it over and over again. Your sun sign is your power. Your rising sign is what you do with your power. So when you hear these horoscopes, if you don't apply your sun sign, your rising sign will inevitably go back to the old way because you didn't apply it to your sun sign. So when you listen to these horoscopes, your sun sign is the most important sign to listen to. And where I say the sun, your Migo, if you just change your Migo there, you will find that the rest of your life unfolds almost like just one button that just boom, all your garments fall off and you're naked. You just got to change the sun sign Migo and the old self just completely falls off. Okay. You can assist the rising sign if you want, but really the rising sign is the consequence of how it unfolds. All right. So it ends up happening. All right. So that's the sun sign. I talk about where the new Migo has to come from, where the new Migo attitude. And by the way, it's an attitude that you're adopting. You're adopting a new attitude, and that attitude dictates your behavior because you're under a certain attitude. And so you behave differently due to that particular attitude. Then I'll talk about the Migo and the mirage of the Migo. So where in the Migo's mirage is yin going to break up with you? What part of your life will be the breakup point? What part of your life will be the way that you let go and that you have a change of mind about what you will be open up to and what you will tolerate? So we'll talk about where you are in that full moon lunar eclipse, killing off the old attitude and thereby leaving yang behind forever. Then I'll talk about this Venus sextiling, where Venus is opening up to a new spiritual part of your life, a new spiritual timeline. And then I'll talk about Uranus in particular, because Jupiter's not there. So I'm going to go to the Uranus level. I'm not going to go to the Jupiter level. At the end of the week, when you get access to your spiritual bank account, I'm going to talk about where that bank account ATM is. So where you can make withdrawals from your account, if you will. And as always, I'll put here to the side which sign we are talking about so you can easily zip through. One other reminder, we do release these as independent horoscopes on Tuesdays. I recommend you come back after the eclipse and you check out and notice what you missed the first time. All right. And as always, I need to take some water because I use my voice up. All right. Starting with the Aries. Aries it's the way you treat yourself. So the Migo that's going to die is the way you treat yourself. And the way you treat yourself in the most quiet moments when no one's looking, the way you talk to yourself, the way you put yourself down, the way you push yourself to do good, the way you expect yourself to do it without any help. It's that old way, the way you are what beats you up. It's your self-treatment that is tied to the Migo Earth 2. So your Earth 2 Migo is around your behavior with yourself. The full moon lunar eclipse is saying that your whole mirage, the whole way you relate to yourself, your whole partnership with yourself is ending. You are rebooting a new partnership. A way to look at this is you are going to have new mirage vows to yourself. Your old mirage vows are obsolete. So maybe your old mirage vow is like in sickness and in health. The new mirage, we're not sick. In struggle and in good times. The new mirage, we don't struggle. So you can see your mirage vows don't apply anymore. So ultimately, it's the mirage vows that get karate chopped, which then spins off the old way of treating yourself. And that is the transformation of the Aries. Now, when it comes to your spiritual bank account, Venus is in Pisces in your 12th house right now. So you are way connected to your higher self, whether you are realizing it or not. For Aries who don't realize it, they usually get it in dream life. Aries always have very active dream life because their ego always shuts down from higher self because they're so focused on the present. But ultimately, it is your relationship to God, your personal relationship to God, that will lead to your abundance. Let me say that again. If you didn't get the memo, write this down. It is your relationship to God that will lead to the abundance. And don't think of the relationship in any of the contexts you've known organized religion. That's not how it works at all from my experience. But by being closer to God, you will have access to your spiritual bank account. All righty? Okay. Taurus. Tauruses, you now have a new relationship to inner faith. And I got to say, I'm already seeing this happen. So Oh, let's say you have so for instance, I'll tell you right now, the check engine light came onto my car today. And I was like, oh man, I got on the struggle bus. I'm like, no, that's the last thing I need right now. I can't get the car. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That is not the right response to having faith. I'm Sensei Christopher. It's going to get fixed. So I corrected my response to faith versus fear. I didn't let myself fall into fear. I turned it into faith. And I was like, if I have to burn this car, I'll do it. I don't care. I'm going to be riding with style anyways. So the point is that Tauruses have to change the way they respond to faith versus fear stuff. Okay. And they have to realize, and by the way, car trouble is so Aries. By the way, it's so Aries. Aries is the car, right? People say Gemini is travel. No, Gemini is mental travel. You get somewhere with a horse and cart, that's Aries. Aries is the horse that digs in the dirt that makes the cart go. Gemini just thinks about it. Okay. They mentally travel places, but I'm digressing here. So it's an interfaith change of behavior. The other side of this is how you live in the body. You can no longer live in stress. You can no longer live in toxins. You can no longer. So the mirage, the yin that breaks up with you says, I'm tired of feeling sick over this. I'm tired of being stressful. I'm tired of losing sleep. It's all because you refuse to respond with faith, husband. And so what happens is the breakdown is that your body basically rebels to your ego that keeps taking the hard path of, oh God, I'm about to head for hard waters. Now, Venus is in the house of social ambition. So you are opening up now to a new role in society. And that new role in society is sextiling your character. So Tauruses are going to rebirth as a result of this, rebirth their position in society, which I'm already on track for that, and their character, which I am already on track for that. Okay. So you might be having it happen too. I can't speak well, but we'll blame Mercury. Geminis. Geminis, you have been a sore friend to yourself. So your Migo is always sort of kicking the can, and you have not really had a strong response when it comes to if you belong or not. So in the world, Geminis are like, I don't know if they like me. I don't know if I belong. I don't know if I can make it on that team. I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I have a place on that council. That's the Earth 2 Migo talking. Okay. The Migo that says you're in the back of the classroom and nobody likes you and you have no friends. That is the Earth 2 Migo. And Geminis do it somewhere. Maybe it's with job, maybe it's with dating, maybe it's with school. It happens somewhere. Every Gemini, I know everyone I've seen. I haven't met an Earth 3 Gemini yet. I will, though, on Earth 3. Now, for you, that's the Migo that's dying, the part of you that doesn't belong anywhere, that has no friends, that isn't where you want to be. The Earth and Moon in Libra says it's the self-love attitude. You've had a poor attitude about self-love, a piss poor attitude about self-love. It's that piss poor attitude about self-love that has led to you feeling like you have no friends and no place in the world. So what ends up happening is the poor self-love attitude goes away, and you realize that you are now going to love yourself, which means you will now think that you are the shift when it comes to the world. Venus is in the house of career. So you're going to open up now and realize, wow, now that I have a place in the world, I have a place for a career. I'm going to shine. I'm going to climb. I'm going to show this world what I'm made of. And that Venus sextiles your relationship to God. And so you're going to have this realization of like, whoa, I can be and do anything I want to be. Thanks, God. And so you're going to access and be connected to God closer than I think you've ever been connected. This may be the first time that Geminis recognize God. You've always been in touch with God, always. But I don't know if you could point him out in a room. And I think what's going to happen after you get off of this nobody's my friend business with the old Migo, that you're going to actually then go, oh, God's my friend. Oh, I guess it was just my attitude. Exactly. Cancers. Cancers are changing their Migo when it comes to self-discipline. You have made yourself do things that are not good for you, and you've not done the things that are good for you. And you've chased after what your man or your woman wanted you to do, but you weren't listening to what your Migo keeps signing you up for disaster after disaster when it comes to really putting yourself out there and leaving a legacy. It's not always a disaster. I know a lot of master cancers. It's not a disaster, but they're not where they want to be. Okay. Because their Migo is talking themselves out of it, or I can't, or I don't know enough, or I don't have enough experience, or, oh, shut up, Migo. Just do it already, says the new Earth 3 Migo. So you are ending the struggle in career and legacy, ending it. Now, on the other side of this is your feelings. Your feelings have tolerated this. Your feelings have allowed this to happen. Your feelings have gotten beaten up. You feel bad about yourself. You feel guilty. You feel worried. All these cesspool feelings because your ego can't get its act together and aim for what the potential is. So what's going to die is your feelings will no longer tolerate it anymore. It's going to be a feeling meltdown. Your emotions are like, I've had enough. And you're going to break up with whoever you've hired to coach your career. Venus in Pisces says this allows you to open up to a real purpose that's meaningful to you. So now you realize, wow, I can really do what matters to me. I can do what I'm called to do. And Venus sextiling to Taurus says, Uranus and Taurus says, and I can be who I'm meant to be in society. So by getting rid of the irresponsible struggle ego, by saying that career is no longer a struggle, you will then feel better, realize what your purpose is, and then be able to find your place in society with unlimited potential. Yay. I agree. Someone said yay. Leos. Leos, your ego has issues with believing in yourself. And that means that you start, there's moments when you've got like Christina Aguilera on or something, and you're just like dancing around the house. You're like, I'm the shift, I'm the great. And then the first challenge comes in and you're just like, oh, there's a thorn in my paw. I guess I'm worth nothing. So I've seen Leos will just fall off that gravy train. Your ego is hit and miss when it comes to believing in yourself. You shouldn't require proof for belief. You shouldn't require a resume. You either know or you don't know that you're the king of the jungle. Which is it? So your indecisive ego about knowing what you know has in effect messed with your thinking of yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you respond to yourself in your mind. And so your mind is going to be like, that's it. I can't take this whole thorn in the paw sort of crying. I'm not into it. I'm done. The mind is going to be done. So you might have a moment where you just sort of freak out and yell at somebody or yell at yourself or, do some sort of intellectual wormhole would be your breakdown. But it's not the mind's problem. It's the mind has tolerated this. The mind has allowed your ego or your ego to continually say that you don't believe. I don't know if I believe. I don't know. I have to have proof. The mind has just had enough. So it's a mental breakup with your old belief structure is what it is, Leo. Now, Venus is in the house of the 8th house, which means once you do that, you realize, oh my God, my mind arguing with my beliefs was why I couldn't get anywhere, because I was in an argument with myself between my thoughts and my beliefs. So then you realize I can change. I can make a difference. I can be the king or queen of the jungle I was meant to be. And then that ties into career. And you realize, whoa, my career and legacy is unlimited to how far I can possibly go. Now that I realize I can evolve, now that I realize the problem was this ego that was on Earth too. So I think it's a powerful moment for Leos. Watch out. They're on a comeback. Virgos, your ego has to do with your boundaries with yourself. And I know this. I can say to a Virgo, hey, what do you think about no? Like they will say no before I complete the sentence. Okay. That ego says no more than yes. It says no with exceptions. And here's the thing. It's being the same way to you. So you have boundary issues with yourself. You are on the struggle bus boundaries. You have all these boundaries with yourself because you're trying to stop struggle, but you're actually making it harder by having those boundaries to stop struggle. You are compounding the problem by being in this world of no's and your boundaries with yourself. And then other boundaries, it's like, we're going to eat clean. Where's that boundary? Where are you when you're supposed to support that? So Virgos are basically divorcing the ego part of them that handles boundaries with themselves. Now, here's the flip thing. Your self-worth is sick of it. You haven't been able to grow in self-worth because every time you say, how about your ego says, no, we can't do that. No. So basically your self-worth is getting a divorce from your boundaries. And you're now going to go, nope, we're worth $1 billion. You're fired. And now I'm going to up and start to own what I'm capable of. I'm going to manifest my unlimited potential. And so Virgos are going to, on the other side of this, they're going to have a new attitude about what they're worth. They're going to realize what they are worth. All right. Now, Venus in Pisces says this brings a whole new light to partnerships. This is what you needed. This is why you weren't quite finding who you wanted to have, or you're in a funky relationship with your boss, or people keep letting you down, it's because you were fighting between self-worth and boundaries. And now that you've got that fight undergone, you can now understand, okay, I can partner with the people I deserve. So it opens up to have equal partnerships now that you're giving yourself equal credit. And that leads to life purpose. So when that happens, Uranus and Taurus says, all right, well, now that he or she is tied to the partners they deserve and they're no longer putting themselves down, now you can basically have anything you want in life purpose. Go for it. You want to be the next Gandhi? Go for it. So that just opens up unlimited potential for purpose. Libras. Libra, your ego problem is with your mirage. You are always fighting with yourself, always. And you're like, no, we don't. Yes, you do. Where you're like, should we have steak tonight? No, we shouldn't have steak. We should have chicken. No, not chicken. We should have this. No. Actually, we should have this and this. I don't know. Should it be this or should it not be this? I don't know. That's you fighting with yourself. There's one answer that comes with amigo and a mirage. If you're listening to your heart, there's only one answer and there's no debate. Okay. The heart knows what it wants. Ask a little kid. Hey, little kid, do you want a dolly or do you want a race car? Kids like race car. When you ask your heart, you know exactly what you want. There's none of this back and forth. I don't know. That's amigo that was ignoring your heart. That's the problem. That's why you have the reputation of being indecisive, because your amigo is throwing you under the bus. Okay. So you're going to get rid of the amigo in your mirage. And this means that when it comes to the way you treat yourself, you are done. You stick a fork in you, you are done. You are ready to move on. So you're going to end up opening up to a whole nother 5-star way of treating yourself. VIP, first class, 5-star. I don't care how you picture it. Ultimately, you're going to start to treat yourself like gold when you fire that ego that never asks your heart for what you want. Venus in Pisces means that this makes you realize, whoa, life can be so much better when I'm not fighting with myself and I'm not arguing with myself and not knowing what to do. Woo-wee! It can be so much better. And then Venus sextiling into Uranus says, and that means that my whole life can change now. Now that I've gotten rid of that part of me that argues, I can get rid of the entire way of how I live. So Libras are on the cusp of a huge life transformation. It's going to be like Olivia Newton-John in the final scene of Grease. You're going to show up in leather tights and start dancing. Mark my words. Put that in your books and see what happens. Scorpios, you are your amigo has got this attitude about life that life is hard. I'm calling you on it. Life is hard. People are hard. People can't be trusted. People screw you over. It is your attitude in the moment. You have a stressful attitude in the moment. I can't think of one Scorpio where I can look in your eyes and not see stress. I see stress in every one of your eyes. It's like you're all waiting for a war to happen at any moment. And there's no war. It's your freaking ego, which is on Earth too, the struggle bus. So what divorces that ego? It is your faith. Your inner faith. Your inner faith is like, I don't have faith in this whole ego thing. Sorry. So your spiritual self has had enough. It's not what it signed up for when it was going down the dream and incarnating. This is not what I signed up for. This is not the attraction I signed up for. So your spirit is actually divorcing your ego in your case and saying, no more. I'm not going there. I'm not taking that attitude. If life isn't easy, it's because you're making it hard. Whoa, sorry. Let's talk about a Scorpio stinger of truth there. Taurus is getting a little revenge here for all the stings I've had. Now, Venus in Pisces says this opens up to unlimited possibility with dreams and wishes. Oh my God. So many. Now that I'm no longer, life isn't a struggle. Well, that means I was a struggle. Well, that means I can do anything I want. So I think Scorpios are going to be blissing out when they realize the consequences of this eclipse, that life is not a struggle. They were making it a struggle. Your dreams can come true now. And that also sextiles to partnerships. People won't let me down on Earth 3. So all this letdown, according to astrology, the letdown is because you thought Earth was a struggle. Therefore, you thought your dreams and wishes wouldn't work out. Therefore, you attracted people who agreed with you. Your wishes won't work out. You're not going to get anything you want out of this partnership. So partnerships will go up. That spiritual bank account is going to bring in cool alignments and partnerships. Time for a sip of water. Sagittariuses, the unicorns. Sagittarius, this is a self-love ego issue. And oh my God, Try giving a Sagittarius a compliment. They're like, bing, bing. It's like Wonder Woman with bullets. It's like, you're really good. I'm not that good. You did a great job. I don't know. It was okay. No, no. Oh my God. That Migo is always selling you under the bus when it comes to self love. I never see a Sag go, thank you. That feels so good. It's true. Never. It's false humility, is what I've always said, but I'll be kinder than that. I think it's actually something around the struggle bus. It's like you don't want to love yourself unless everything is perfect or something. You've got some weird thing about loving yourself unless it's all perfect. And even then, you won't love yourself unless everyone in the room gets a trophy. That's not how God built it. I'm sorry. So your old Migo has been selling you under the bus with self-love, which, by the way, is what keeps you from real love, creativity, awesome projects, personal dreams, the whole 9 yards of what the heart offers, all because that Migo won't accept loving yourself first for no reason. Now, what divorces you is your social reputation. You're going to see that you have not really a fun thing going on right now in society. You have to let me know, but what the planets say is Sagittarius, is for as sparkly and as bright as they are, they're not happy. They're not happy at the party. They're not happy with where they're hanging out. They're not happy with where they're living. They're not happy. They're not happy with their world, period. It could be so much better. And so because of that, that's the yin in you that goes, I am tired of you not loving yourself. I am out of here. And so what happens is you begin to divorce all sorts of social relationships because now you're going to love yourself first, which means you're not going to tolerate this mediocre world that you have been allowing yourself to live in. Venus in Pisces opens up and says, whoa, now I can really feel good about life because I love myself. What a concept. I'm now going to feel good about myself, feel good about my life, and feel good about my family. And that then leads to, whoa, Uranus in the 6th house. Now my life can become amazing. So the takeaway of loving yourself is home gets really cool and life gets amazing, all because you decide to love yourself first for no reason at all, which, by the way, is how God does it. Capricorns, the captivators of the zodiac. Capricorns, your Migo is about feelings about yourself. And I see this all the time in Capricorns. Oh, I don't know. It may happen. Oh, if it goes down, if I get the deal. It's like this always this Eeyore sort of response to yourself and your emotions. That Migo is constantly selling your feelings under the bus. And by the way, it's high maintenance to whoever you're in a relationship with. It gets, when you see a big, strong goat that's on top of the mountain, worrying about not getting what they want and just feeling bad about it and just letting themselves feel bad, it's really heavy. Okay. When a Capricorn is sad, it is so heavy, sad Capricorns. So it's time to actually make a Migo that has no struggle, that knows everything will work out, that will feel good all the time, whether or not it works out. Now, ironically, the lunar eclipse is around self-discipline. You're going to realize the way you've been disciplining yourself has been enabling this poor emotional complex that you have been because you've been making yourself be a millionaire before you're 25, because you want to have the hottest partner, because you got to have the fastest car, because you have to have the best of the best of the best of the best. That dictator of your inner discipline is why your Migo is moping and sad and not feeling good. That's why, because you've been a slave driver to yourself in the old era. On the struggle bus you were. You won't be that way on Earth 3, just saying. Now, Venus in Pisces says, okay, that means I can get happy. My mind can open up. I can be grateful, and I can step into a positive attitude about life, and I can be a genius. My genius can come out now that I'm not feeling bad about who I am. And that energy streams right in dreams and wishes. And then Capricorn realizes, oh my God, I could create and be anything I want in the entire world. I can manifest dreams, unicorns, you name it. Because now I'm allowing myself to feel good without any issue. I'm feeling good first, and then I'm basing my decisions on feeling good, and that is allowing me to have the right attitude, and that's allowing me to manifest my dreams and wishes. Pretty powerful. I think we're going to see Capricorns. I wish there was an astrological stock market, because I would bet on Capricorns right now and make a fortune. Aquariuses are... It's your self-talk, Aqua. It's the way you talk to yourself. I'm getting much closer to Aquas than I've ever been in my life, by the way, because of their evolution. I can see Pluto in your sign. And your Migo and your self-talk is nasty. When you guys let me into the way you talk about yourself, I'm appalled that a humanitarian would talk to themselves like you talk to yourself. It has been low vibration, hard, I'm not good enough. What if? Sometimes it's simply is like, are you sure? Are you sure? So I see a lot of Migos for Aquarius is always asking, are you sure? Maybe you got that wrong. And this constant critic of, are you right or wrong kind of thing. That Migo has got to go. That struggle bus Migo. Now, what is going to make you realize that you have the poor attitude about yourself is that you want to believe in yourself. You want to feel confident. You want to get on stage and rock it and show the world all your genius and all your fireworks and all the cool magic that you have underneath your sleeve. But that damn Migo keeps talking shit about yourself. So this breakdown is actually your belief in yourself goes, I want to believe in myself. I'm leaving this marriage with this Migo that talks shift to myself all the time. So it's the believing part of yourself that wants to believe and is tired of the rhetoric and steps away from the rhetoric. Now, Venus in Pisces then goes, oh, wow, now I can make a fortune. So your abundance opens up. You at that point realize, whoa, the only reason why I'm not getting the customers I want or the business that I want or all these things that I can't seem to manifest and it's driving me crazy, why can't I make the money I deserve, is because you keep talking yourself out of deserving it. You keep criticizing yourself in your talk to yourself. So you can never really own it. You say it's worth $19.95. We can see there's something in you that doesn't believe that. It's not that you don't believe it's $19.95. It's that you don't believe in yourself. So once you believe in yourself, we'll believe it's worth $19.95 and we'll put down the credit card to pay for it. Now, what that does with that abundance is it builds emotional security. You're going to feel like lightning in a bottle. You're going to feel strong, grounded. You have a home, you have a family. You're going to see the earth as your family, the whole earth as your family. And right now, I have to say Aquariuses are very, very selective, very selective. I'm not judging, but I know a lot of Aquas that will not say hi to a stranger on the street. Just saying. But I think that's because you are not nice to yourself. And so because of that, it's sort of spreading into your humanity, literally. And then the Pisces. Pisces, your Migo problem is with self-worth. You keep putting yourself down. A lot of it is out of guilt, where you're like, well, there was that time. That time is not now. Why are you bringing that up? That's so not sexy. Why are you talking about that time right now? Right when it's like, well, let's apply for a credit card. Well, there's that time I didn't pay my mortgage. What? So Pisces are caught in their past life memories of the times that they screwed up, but you guys are confused that doesn't matter right now. You're under a spell that it does matter. So once your Migo starts to say, I'm worth it, I'm can show the world, I'm going to do something with this. Once your Migo's on the side of what your worth is, what your gifts are, what you offer, then you have unlimited potential to what you can make and create here on the planet. Now, the Earth and lunar eclipse in Libra says, it's your boundaries with yourself. You've had a certain mindset where that's been okay. Your boundaries have said, it's okay that I don't like myself and I put myself down. That's okay. That's okay. I'm cool. I can let that happen. And so it's your boundary part that's been allowing the husband to basically treat yourself and put yourself down. So the boundary part of yourself is going to say, that's it. I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of not feeling like I'm worth it. I'm done. So your boundary self is the karate chop. It's your boundaries that have a breakdown and go, this isn't working for us. Us being the two fishes, by the way. Now, Venus is in your sign. So what happens is as soon as you get over this tug of war with self-worth, then you suddenly straighten up in your chair. Suddenly you have a purpose and you have a character and you have a personality and you know what's possible in life. So you suddenly become the Pisces we know you are. And this actually sextiles to Uranus and Taurus, which means your genius ideas just start to open up. And you, like Einstein, who was a Pisces, starts downloading incredible information and logic because you've fixed the pipes when it comes to self-worth and boundaries with self. And now you're standing in this new character and you know the spiritual genius that you really are. How's that? All right. I think that was darn good, I have to say. I was on my pulpit. All right, friends, keep streaming because we are going to now go for a little intermission. We've gone about 3 or 4 minutes. When I come back, I have Jaime Goldstein, a fellow astrologer, and we're going to talk shop about Mercury. Keep streaming. Zodiac Weather is from Saturday, March 23rd to Friday, March 29th, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you're going to learn to believe in yourself and have a breakthrough about self-love. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and brave. Step 3 means that Jupiter rules the day. This is a day where you're going to expand and understand a new way of treating yourself. You could say you are drinking a cup of courage as you act on a new set of self-belief. And with the moon in Virgo, you are hyper aware of everything. On Sunday, it's cloudy and rather bumpy. Step 4 means Uranus rules the day, so expect the unexpected. There may be a breakdown that leads to an innovative self-love policy. Basically, you're tuning your ego. With Venus sextiling Jupiter, you're also recognizing that your spiritual evolution will turn into literal profitability, and the moon will shift into Libra on countdown for the eclipse. Looking ahead at the 5-day weekday moodcast, over the upcoming week, you're going to forge a new ego, but after a major eclipse. On Monday, it's cloudy with a chance of a wind advisory. Step 5 means Mercury rules the day, but this is the full moon lunar eclipse, which is going to cause you to think differently about yourself and give you a thought-aware upgrade. In simple terms, you're going to have a new mindset about the way you treat yourself and also a new approach to your marriage, which is your relationship to yourself. On Tuesday, it's sunny and relaxed as you experience the lunar eclipse hangover. Step 6 means that Venus rules the day, and with the moon in Libra, it's going to feel rather 6y. You are accepting yourself without any judgment now, and an elevated spiritual timeline is now coming into view. On Tuesday, it's cloudy, overcast, but holy. Step 7 means Neptune now rules the day, so this will be a spiritual day where you're finding your spiritual purpose for your ego and a more enlightened way of treating yourself. You're also going to manifest the spiritual way of going about things, and the moon will get more intense as it shifts from Libra into protective Scorpio. On Thursday, it's sunny and metamorphing. Step 8 means that Saturn rules the day. This will be the day where you feel the most responsible in the upcoming week. You're ready to commit to your new ego upgrades. That is a new way of treating yourself. You could say that you're reaching for the sun with your hope and expectations. And with Venus sextiling Uranus, you're now beginning to open up to the potential for some true abundance. And then on Friday, it's sunny and sheltering. Step 9 Aries means it's a grand master day for Aries. The new Migo you've been working on all week comes into form. You are now aligning your spiritual octaves. You're feeling strong and likely reborn. It's a glorious day, and after a week of transforming your Migo, you are now feeling strong. The moon in Scorpio shifts to Sagittarius, and now you're starting to feel that with this new Migo, your life and story is finally starting to change.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and the most amazing and innovative influencers of our time. You might have gotten the memo. We have a Mercury retrograde coming up on April Fool's Day, which I call Mercury Retrograde. And tonight's guest has positioned herself as an expert on the topic. Very rare. Jaime Goldstein is an intuitive astrologer who describes herself as lit up to support people to live their most magical and inspired lives. She's a former school psychologist turned mystic. Jaime weaves her intuition with her deep studies of astrology. And in May of 2021, Jaime hosted the Mercury Retrograde Alchemy Summit to inspire others to relate to Mercury retrograde in an empowering way. She has since interviewed 30 astrologers who brought fresh perspectives to incorporate into her approach on the rhythms of the retrogrades. Please join me in sending waves of love and light to our guest astrologer tonight, Step 15 Aries, Jaime Goldstein. Hello.
Hi, Christopher. I'm so excited to be here with you and everyone tuning in.
Thank you. We're glad to have you two here. I'm just going to say right off the bat, you have this beautiful mermaid energy about you.
Oh, thank you. I'm wearing a mermaid necklace.
Oh my goddess, you're wearing a mermaid necklace?
And I'm
Holy
looking
shit.
at the ocean and down the mountains. So
I totally feel it. Maybe we met in Atlantis or Lemuria, so
Yeah.
our relationship may go way back.
I think so.
Thank you for saving me when my ship wrecked. So tell me, so what's a girl from Dallas doing on a talk show talking about Mercury retrograde? How did you get involved in astrology?
Yeah. So I was working as a school psychologist pre-Saturn return. And in my mid-20s, when I was just kind of starting out doing that, I had like my, spiritual awakening, which was really like a spiritual emergency as Uranus was going over my sun and Aries. And that took me on my whole spiritual journey. But essentially, I had that spiritual awakening. My psychic awareness started to really open up, and I didn't have the worldview or the integration to like integrate what was happening. And with my traditional psychology background, I was like scared to go to a psychologist because I'm like, having psychic experiences. And I'm like, gosh, I don't want to get committed to a psych hospital. So I was talking to a friend about that I can't go to like a counselor, I feel like. And she told me, oh, I know a shaman. That's like just the person that you need to see. And so I saw the shaman, and he like essentially explained what was happening, this intuitive awakening, and that I'm not crazy. I'm just aware of things in the unseen world that are around me. And he helped me integrate everything that I was experiencing. And so then I really started to dive into the mystic realm and esoteric things and opening up my intuition more and more. And then I started to, I wanted to integrate that all into my psychological practice, but I couldn't do that in the school setting, especially in the traditional school setting in the public Texas schools at that time. And so
Right.
but what I did fall in love with also was teaching yoga and mindfulness. So I became a yoga instructor at that time. And I started teaching a lot of yoga and mindfulness to my students. And I wanted to do that more and more, and not my actual job. And so I left in my Saturn return, I took a leap of faith, and I left working in the schools to teach kind of yoga and mindfulness full time. And then that was a stepping stone to just pursuing astrology. And then I was kind of doing both, teaching yoga in yoga studios, and also leading like full moon circles and new moon circles at the yoga studios. And then when doing astrology readings there, I've professionally studied astrology in that time. And then when 2020 happened and everything moved online, that's when I really kind of jumped into, okay, another leap of faith. Uranus kind of on my midheaven. I'm going to do astrology full time. And that's why I'm here today.
Well, actually, thank you for that, because I get asked all the time, like people who watch our show are saying they want to be astrologers. They're not sure how the hell that's going to happen. They don't know how to make the leap from their full-time job to being able to be a mystic, basically full-time. And you just outlined exactly how you did it. So thank you. A lot of
Oh,
people are grateful for that.
I'm so
Um,
happy.
so you've been studying. So are you now exclusively astrology? I'm not quite sure where you land. Are you?
Yeah. So we're pretty much astrology full time right now. I'm on a little bit of a sacred pause. I have a baby who's
Oh,
7
congrats.
months
What
old.
sign?
Thank you. He's a Leo son.
Oh, little Leo Prince.
Yes,
Yay.
yeah, born right in the Venus Sun conjunction in Leo this summer.
Whoa. Wow,
And I
that's
work a
very
lot.
special.
Yeah, I work a lot with the Venus cycles too. And so it was like very special to have a Venus star point baby.
Wow, really points to your magic. So let me ask you, let's just talk shop as astrologers for a moment. Like, what are you noticing in a person's chart is like their biggest stumbling block in your research with your clients?
Gosh, there's so many things here, but I have a strong Pluto signature in my astrology chart. So
Okay.
I've integrated a lot of astrology approaches. I love evolutionary astrology. So I'm always kind of looking at what's going on with Pluto and the lunar nodes on people's stumbling blocks, and how to like catalyze that transformation for their evolution. But I feel like anywhere in a chart, there's potential for like, here's a stumbling block, and here's like a recipe for transformation.
It definitely changes, but you personally are a Pluto gal, and nodes. You like the nodes. What do the nodes tell you in your perspective?
Yeah, so for me, the South Node is a really strong archetypal signature that we've really developed, and probably like overly developed in previous lifetimes. So we feel really comfortable there. And there's so many gifts with our South Node as well. Like I have a Virgo South Node, love my Virgo South Node, but I feel so comfortable there that we can actually get stuck and stagnant because we've really overdone that archetypally. And then we tend to also have like a lot of karmic things, like a lot of the shadow expressions of the sign we tend to work with when we have that South Node. And then the North Node, it's like kind of getting out of our comfort zone. It feels unfamiliar and like a new uncharted territory. And I love Divine Harmony gives the example of it's like a little baby bird, our north node, where we get like pushed out of the nest and we just have to learn how to fly on the spot. So the north node is like our growth point, our area of evolution, and it feels unfamiliar when we can like step into it and just surrender to it. Like that's this pathway of like our destiny and our fate, and it's kind of that like North Star for us.
Do you find that, I mean, I have a hard time being objective. Like in my case, I get stuck in my south node, which is Cancer. And
Mm,
my heart always wanted the north node, but I just didn't think it was possible.
mm.
What do you find that is a similar perspective to some of your clients? I mean, that they wanted the north node, but they just wouldn't go after it, or is it
Totally.
completely, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was like exactly for me too. My North Node in Pisces, and I remember I was like studying, living and breathing astrology for probably a few years, and I had an astrology reading with an astrologer, and I was like, gosh, really want to be an astrologer, but I almost felt like embarrassed to like tell him and admit it because I was like, oh my gosh, she's so brilliant. It was someone I used to follow his podcast, and when he was talking about my eighth house North Node in Pisces, and he gave like a few examples of like what that might be. He said like astrologer is one of the examples, and it was like it was the affirmation that I needed to pursue, to pursue astrology. I mean, I know it's like kind of maybe giving my power away to need someone else to tell me, but it was a really pivotal moment to have that reflected back to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need affirmation. I mean, I think a good reading is affirmation that, I don't know if it's, so I feel like if I need to hear it at least a couple of times in the outer world for me to really affirm. And the South Node, and I'm only talking about this because you brought it up as one of the places you go in a reading.
Yeah.
It seems like the South Node, it's definitely where you bring up a good point. I'm good at my South Node. I'm very good at it, but I'm so over it.
Yeah.
So it's a weird paradox because it's something that comes natural to you. So it's like one of the areas where your own talent ends up shooting you in the foot, kind of thing is what I've noticed. That you literally have just outgrown it, stayed there too long, let it overgrow into something negative or holding you back. That's what I found. Have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like 100%.
And lastly, on this point, since it's just two astros talking, do you feel that the North Node is the solution to leaving the South Node? Are they connected like that in your opinion?
So I view them more as like integration. So,
Okay.
like a pendulum will probably swing from one side to the other. And I think probably in our journey, like as we're like to balance out, we might move more into our north node and kind of like maybe separate from our south node some. But ultimately, I do think it's about integration and kind of transforming or clearing the karma of our south node that's no longer serving us at this point in our journey, but bringing the gifts and then integrating the gifts along with the north node. So there's this like magic when the two kind of integrate together.
Oh, nice. That's a really nice way of putting it. So it's like sort of like just like a garage sale, keeping the stuff you like, selling the rest of it off. Like
Exactly.
that's a good approach. I like that approach. So being an astrologer and looking at this year, I'm just curious on your opinion. We're going to dive into Mercury retrograde, but first of all, what is your opinion that 2024 is about astrologically? I mean, just that would a broad stroke to every person watching.
Yeah. So, this is one of those years, it's this huge transition year. I feel like, as Pluto is going to make that last little dip into Capricorn this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like say the powers that should not be are kind of making their last power grabs right now to trying to like hang on to power. And so we're going to see a lot, and we already are seeing a lot that's really hard and challenging in the
Yeah.
world. So, I think with Pluto going back into Capricorn, we're going to have more of that. But ultimately, we're here to, transform this. And of course, like it all starts about the transformation within. But then, to really like kind of clear the way for Pluto to go into Aquarius. And I do feel that, I mean, there's so much potential. It's like both and, I think we're going to see a lot of really challenging stuff on the world stage. But if we're like really doing our inner work and really like saying yes and being like truly open on that energetic level to our path, I also see like major like timeline upgrading, like new pathways opening for those of us that are just saying like, yes, I'm committed to the transformation, and just to like say yes to being here, why I'm here, and this time, like what my spiritual mission is. I mean, that Jupiter, Uranus, North Node, I see like really powerful, like kind of timeline upgrade to really like follow our spiritual mission happening.
Agreed. We're in the same concert with opinions. And what is your opinion of Pluto and Aquarius and what's happening in that shift from Capricorn? Yes, it dips back into Capricorn September. So I kind of feel like that is going to be one last gasp of the old power structure.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. Which means that we'll hit some trade winds for those of us who are trying to do well. But how do you characterize Pluto and Aquarius, for the next 24 years?
Yeah, essentially like power to the people in many senses. So moving from that consolidated Capricorn, like top down power, to really like for each of us, the people, essentially to recognize our own power. And it's that spiritual power that we have within, and to really like, connect with our like-minded community, and to really like co-create whatever you want to call it, like the new earth frequency or the new earth timeline. Like there's so many different ways that people are calling it, but essentially to meet with our like-minded community and start co-creating a more beautiful, better world for all to live in.
Oh, fascinating. Well, I agree. I concur completely. I've been calling it Earth 3 in this show.
I
Like,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
Of course, there's, all the like shadow stuff of technology and all of that. But I really see a lot of beautiful, beautiful potential with Pluto and Aquarius.
I do too. It's a saving grace. I feel like, and have you felt the difference since Pluto and Aquarius? Just wondering
Oh,
as a,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I have too. Energy feels a lot more, there seems to be a higher potential. Like I actually believe that things can change now, but when Pluto's in Capricorn, it was hard to hold that belief.
Yeah. And it seems like synchronicities, at least in my life and people that I'm reading for, it's like the synchronicity is the right place, the right timing, things to like kind of like open up the pathway for us. It seems to be happening like very quickly right now for people. And I mean, it's different for everyone. So if you're not experiencing that, there's like nothing wrong. We all have our own timing, right? But I am seeing that a lot with people right now.
Yeah, I am too. The synchronicities have been insane, and I feel like it's because I'm getting closer to who I am that it's happening. But I also feel like it's part of the law of attraction, and Pluto and Aquarius is part of that too. So, with all this study of astrology, what got you into Mercury retrograde? Out of all the retrogrades, why Mercury?
Yeah, I always joke, I have Venus in Gemini, so I'm just kind of like, I have a natural affinity for all
Okay.
things Mercury. I love all things Mercury. And I have my Mercury at 29 Pisces, so it's like the last degree of the zodiac. My Mercury, I feel like having Mercury in Pisces is very kind of retrograde-y, even though my Mercury is direct. But
Mm,
it's just when I started to study astrology, I found teachers that were like very mercurial and who specialized in Mercury. Like my first teacher was Gary P. Caden, who has a book on Mercury, the Hermetica Triptycha, the Mercury elemental year. And so I just
mm.
naturally gravitated to all these like mercurial teachers. And I got super fascinated with Mercury retrogrades because there's such a fear mongering around Mercury retrogrades, right? Especially in the mainstream kind of like astrological world, but like even in like the astrology world too, there's so much like fear mongering. And I just kind of, I don't know, I just had empathy for Mercury. I was like, gosh, like everybody's like 3 weeks a year, 3 weeks at a time, 3 times a year, just like raising their fist and like blaming Mercury. And I'm like, poor Mercury. Like it makes me kind of sad for Mercury. And I just got super interested, and I started to just explore and like experiment with how I was meeting Mercury retrogrades. And also some of this is influenced by teachers I've had as well. But I just kind of started to really get in this like rhythm and flow with Mercury retrograde, that it's part of a cycle.
Yeah.
And so when you understand the energetic nature, it's an energy shift. And when you understand the energetic nature of Mercury retrograde and surrender and move with that energy instead of trying to like push against it, I found with my own life, those like Mercury retrograde mishaps, that everybody gets the scheduling errors and travel delays and all those things, miscommunications. I started to have a lot less of them. And I actually started to have a lot more gifts starting to emerge in my life from the Mercury retrograde. So that's kind of like how I just got into it. And I just kind of, I don't know. I don't know why. I just kind of like fell in love with like really trying to empower people around Mercury retrograde.
Well, it's a good angle. I mean, my business partner is not into astrology at all, doesn't believe in it, but he's the programmer of our software. And anytime we go down, it's in Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
And so he finally, after 8 years, will now say, WTF, man, is Mercury in Gatorade? And I'll be like, not this joke. But my point is that like even the biggest skeptics notice Mercury retrograde. Like I've noticed like it's sort of like in Gemini style, it's sort of what it's like the one thing that brings astrology to the masses because full moons and lunar eclipses and all that stuff. I mean, that's sort of that goes back to pagan rituals. We've been worshiping the moon. People don't always associate the moon cycles with astrology, but Mercury retrograde is sort of like a conversation opener.
Yeah.
I've noticed. So, Mercury has done that. So what is your belief about what is actually happening consciously in a Mercury retrograde? What's happening inside my soul, do you feel?
Yeah. So for me, Mercury, Hermes essentially, and the
Hermes.
teacher of like the Hermetic arts. Mercury is a teacher of alchemy. So Mercury has 4-month Mercury cycles. So it takes Mercury 4 months to move between us and the sun, and then lap around the sun and whip back by past us and align with the sun, the earth and sun again. So it's like it's like a new Mercury, just like a new moon, a Mercury between the earth and sun. That's when, to me, I consider a new 4-month Mercury cycle to start. And that happens during every Mercury retrograde, which is why I'm sharing that. So essentially, every Mercury retrograde it's just an ending and a beginning of a new 4-month Mercury cycle. And Mercury being the teacher of alchemy, there are these especially the retrogrades, it's the quick-footed messenger, the god of speed is during every Mercury retrograde actually drops out of our visible sky under the horizon line, passes between the earth and sun, and then will rise back as morning star. So switches from evening star to morning star. And in that time when Mercury is going under the horizon, that's essentially like an underworld kind of experience where we have this opportunity to alchemize something within us. And what is Mercury connected to, right? Or corresponds with like the mind, thought, communication, our perception, our awareness. Like our perception and awareness is everything. When we change our perception and our awareness, it changes our reality because it changes how we interact with our reality. The first Hermetic principle is the law of mentalism, like all is mind, where thoughts go, energy flows. And so every Mercury retrograde is an opportunity to have an ending and beginning in the way we think and the way we perceive, which really shifts everything in our reality. And so I find, and I watch for it specifically, like we're kind of in that pre-Mercury retrograde shadow already. And when we go into Mercury retrograde, I actually look for it, like, okay, what self-limiting thinking patterns are coming up right now? Because I do find, and I see it with people all the time, even just people I'm talking to randomly, like at the grocery store, people start having self-limiting thinking patterns kind of get dredged up from their unconscious so we can become aware of it, so we can alchemize it. So I start looking for, okay, like what's that self-limiting way of thinking that's coming up that's ready to be alchemized? And then when Mercury passes between the earth and sun, the term is Mercury Kazemi, right? That means Mercury in the heart of the sun. And it's like a purification. Every time a planet kind of comes with the sun, I consider it this like purification. So it's this purification of our mind. So whatever we kind of dredged up from our unconscious, we're working with it. And if you do it really intentionally, it's super powerful. That Mercury meets the sun, Mercury Kazemi, and it's like, wow, this really powerful purification. And then it opens up the way for a new way of thinking and perceiving. And I often find in Mercury retrogrades that when Mercury goes Kazemi, meets the sun about halfway through the retrograde. In this case, it's on April 11th at 22 degrees of Aries. It's like the messenger's between the earth and sun. So it's like the messenger is going and picking up a solar spark, a creative impulse, and sending it to us. So oftentimes the Mercury Kazemis, if you pay attention to it, you might notice, like I'm really inspired with some type of new idea, some new inspiration, some like creative project that wants to grow over the next 4-month Mercury cycle. And they're amazing 4-month cycles to kind of like manifest with around like communication projects. So writing, podcasting, speaking. I did my whole 4-month Mercury summit, or I did my Mercury summit. I kind of did the whole production and like posting it under a 4-month Mercury cycle. I got the idea around the Cazimi, and it was just like a lightning bolt because it was actually a Mercury Cazimi in Aquarius. It was just like, here's the summit, here's the download for everything. And over that 4-month Mercury cycle, I did all the planning, promotion. And when Mercury was about to finish that previous cycle, I actually hosted the summit. I mean, they're amazing cycles to work with. So I kind of think of it as the ending and beginning of a cycle.
So intellectually, walk me through that just so I understand it. It's a 4-month cycle.
Yeah.
So how would you maximize on that 4-month cycle in your opinion? You said there's the inspirations with the Cazimi. And by the way, in my world, 22 Aries is profound. We could talk about that another time. So for me, in that degree is a very profound degree. That tells me we're going to go to another planet. How would you plan, let's say, if I wanted to plan something, would you plan it in that 4-month? Is that a viable cycle to take advantage of?
Yes, it depends on the nature of a project. So essentially if the project is something like doable, you could do in like a 4-month cycle, like something like maybe you launch your podcast, maybe writing a whole book's not possible, but maybe you do part of it, or there's a speaking something or other that you could do. But like, for example, just to give you kind of how I work with the cycle, different astrologers work with it in different ways, but there's the Mercury Cazimi, that's the start of the 4-month Mercury cycle. And then Mercury's still going to be in retrograde for about a week and a half or so. And so you're still probably kind of working with those old self-limiting beliefs because things are like cyclical and not linear, even though we had the purification, they're still probably coming up for a little more purification. In alchemy, it's called like moving from the negretto to the albedo. And then Mercury goes direct. Mercury is like morning star at this point. And then Mercury is going to be over that time, but until Mercury comes back and starts to go behind the sun, you're in the morning star Mercury phase, and you can actually just go outside and see Mercury. I mean, Mercury can be one of the harder planets to see. I mean, you need to have like really dark skies and a really good horizon line because Mercury always stays close to the horizon line. But I'm just sharing that because I do a lot of like very embodied, like living sky astrology. So I'm actually working with how you see the planets in the sky. But the first half of the cycle, Mercury's direct, meaning meaning Mercury is also on the morning star side. And so we see Mercury as a morning star. And this is where we're going to nurture the idea. So it's like this kind of excited, youthful, like kind of Aries energy. It's like gather all the information, depends like what you're working with, but gather all the information, do the planning, collaborate with people, like all of that kind of stuff, get excited about it. It's that like kind of moving and just running with the idea kind of energy. And so in that phase, like what I did for my summit was I was like, reaching out to astrologers about like telling them about the summit, asking if they wanted to like be part of it. It was like that kind of collaboration. And then Mercury starts to go behind the sun. So, and then Mercury goes from morning star, travels behind the sun and moves to evening star. And in that phase, that's also kind of like and I would actually call that the real like underworld phase of Mercury's cycle. And in that part of the cycle, oftentimes we start to get confronted. It's like all that youthful, excited, energetic energy. It's like we get really confronted with our self-limiting beliefs. And like for me, and just to give an example, the Mercury Summit, I was like, I reached out to all these astrologers I could have only ever dreamed to talk to at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, they've said yes to this. And then I was like so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to do this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to embarrass myself. And I was just all these like self-limiting beliefs of like, I've never interviewed people in this way. And I was like, so really kind of confronting all my self-limiting beliefs. So that's where we oftentimes have to like confront the self-limiting beliefs, the there's two parts of the cycle where we do, but that's one part. And then Mercury rises as evening star. And then we have, after going through the underworld, we have this like maturity and this wisdom that comes when Mercury's an evening star. And oftentimes, like, that's the phase of the cycle where we maybe start sharing and putting things out in the world. There's kind of this outwardly kind of teaching energy with the evening star side of the cycle. And then as Mercury, for me, when Mercury was ending evening star, like, that's actually when I, like, you know, I started, Mercury moved evening star, I started to share it with the world. So promoting the summit. And then I hosted it. I actually like did it at the end of the Mercury evening star cycle. And then Mercury went retrograde and we started a whole new cycle. But it's kind of like one way you could work with the cycle. So it kind of works with like smaller kind of projects that might be like more than a month that you're like manifesting in a lunation cycle, but like that are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's a trimester basically in pregnancy. And you mentioned self-limiting beliefs. Does it also flip to the other polarity where it's like you've been kidding yourself and you haven't reined yourself in as well? Where people
Yeah.
are like, I'm going to rule the world in 20 days. It's like, well, wait a second. When she's night star, it's like at that point, like maybe it'll take a couple of years. Like, so it can kind of go either way, either self-limited or unrealistic,
Mm.
kind of Jupiterian.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I do find that to be so true because I, call Mercury the sacred trickster. And so when we maybe have that like overinflated sense of belief, then the sacred trickster is going to kind of come down and bring us down to earth a little bit.
Do you notice any difference within you and how your Mercury operates in a retrograde? Like, are you forgetful of things or your attention on something else that's not normally on? Like, for instance, I personally become I'm a productive person, but when I'm in Mercury retrograde, oh my God, I just am so productive and put out so much material. And I usually end up releasing like new shows, new things in a Mercury retrograde. Like I just go as fast as I can. And I just find that it's ready in the retrograde. So I can't tell you how many updates I've done in my service in a retrograde or whatever. So it seems I'm pretty cloudy in a direct, and I'm finally sharp for just 3 weeks every 4 months. That's it.
Yeah. Well, are you born with Mercury in retrograde?
I'm not.
You're
No, I'm
not.
going
Okay,
Mercury
interesting.
direct. But my theory on this, and I love your opinion, is that I feel like there are two sides of Mercury, the Geminis, right? To me, one side is intuitive, one side is logical, is my thought of the Geminis. I see that as the two fear, just like the brain has right and left, logic and intuitive. And my theory is, I'm throwing it by you, is that in a retrograde, you're normally dominant one of those hemispheres. And I feel like in a retrograde, it shifts to the other hemisphere for that retrograde. That's what it feels like to me. So I'm normally very intuitive and logic second, like sort of walking around. I mean, my brother yells at me for wandering around the house, just out, dropping stuff. Not, but then in a retrograde, like suddenly my logic takes over. But that's just what I've experienced. Have you
Oh,
experienced anything to that degree?
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Kind of. And I don't know, I love this because it's actually like making me think of things in a totally new way. So I love that like you're bringing this reflection to me during a Mercury retrograde because I actually think that you're like spot on about this. And I kind of consider just in general when Mercury's direct, like more linear and logical in nature. But I like, for example, I have Mercury in Pisces, so I'm not really like that, like very ever, really. But and then when Mercury's in retrograde, Mercury just by archetypal nature, like moves to a more non-linear, liminal, kind of intuitive, feminine kind of way of perceiving. And so I kind of consider the retrograde to be like that time, but I love that you have a totally different experience. And I do like just intuitively what I feel as you're sharing. I'm like, this is totally going to like expand the way I've thought about this, but I actually think you're spot on with
Well, thank you.
exactly what you said about that. But yeah, I definitely find like, I mean, I find people that are born with Mercury retrogrades tend to like really like flow much better during Mercury retrograde than like
Yes.
other people who like find it to be a much more challenging time.
I've noticed that too. Mercury retros like really excel. They've all reported that back to me that it's their time. Like Mercury's playing their song and they suddenly get all their shift together. Now, what is your opinion of why a person is born with Mercury retrograde? What do you think that karmic lesson is, or what is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, one, I often think about really coming here to learn like mastering an intuitive way of thinking and
Mm.
perceiving reality, to not over, maybe in past lives, over relying on logic and analysis and linear ways of thinking. But also, like, to me, there's also a big kind of karmic signature of someone who is really here to kind of transform through a lot of like self-limiting ways of thinking and to kind of become like an alchemical master with their mind. And also, I mean, there's just a really super powerful intuitive signature of, people I find born with Mercury retrograde to be, have gifts of like working in the dream realms and the intuitive
Mm.
psychic realms as well.
That's a very interesting point that they would be sort of fixed into the intuitive yin kind of energy.
Yeah.
I have found that Mercury retrograde people always second guess themselves, always.
Yeah. And I think that's coming from, or an idea that why that's coming from is because we have a society that like so values the logical, linear, left brain way of thinking. And so that intuitive, like trusting what we're sensing in our inner gnosis can feel really unfamiliar and doesn't get validated, in our world.
Yeah. It's almost like, did I get that right? Did I get that right? There's this constant sort of spell check, Grammarly in them. But then there's a point in their life. Now, do you believe that at some point Mercury stations direct? I mean, not so much from progressions, just from energetically, that I kind of feel clients will unstuck. It's almost
Yeah.
like a retrograde, it's like your car is stuck in the snow or stuck in the mud. At some point that the client gets itself out of that rut and they no longer default to the retrograde. That's been my experience. Have you seen that and witnessed that in your clients? And if so, what prompted it? Was it a transit? Or was it just a conscious evolution of awareness?
Wow, that's such a great perspective. And I do often find that like a progression does have a big shift when someone's born with Mercury retrograde, and when their planet stations direct, which is Mercury only goes retrograde for about 21 days. So it's going to be within their 21st year, 21 first years of life. But also when
Yeah.
someone has Mercury go retrograde in their progress chart, I tend to find this, whoa, I say huge energy shifts with people, and exactly that, starting to like second guess their way of thinking and perceiving. But I totally agree with you, because just hearing people's stories, who are born with Mercury retrograde and reading for them, and I actually don't know, I actually want to ask people and like study that more about like where was the shift. But I know some people who I read for, I can feel it in their energy field. They have that I don't know, like a kind of energetically, it's like a solidity, maybe, like with their Mercury and their way of thinking, that I feel like is speaking to probably the same thing that you're speaking of, and maybe in more of a self-assurance as well, this
Yeah.
like self-trust and the self-trust in their inner gnosis as well. And I actually don't know. I'm sure there's a transit that connects to it. I mean, I would imagine maybe something with an outer planet to like their Mercury or something, but I want to study it more. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I've had only a couple examples, but I saw the client leading up to that the whole time. So,
Mm.
it's not like it's like Mercury marks the spot, but it was this energetic progression. I was seeing them leading out of the second guessing, out of the questioning. Sometimes it was like an eclipse had happened on their Mercury. But what I noticed was they were sort of like, there's an elation because they finally have no longer their worst critic, or no
Mm.
longer, questioning what they know or what they
Mm.
think.
Oh,
So
I
it's
love
interesting.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I also see too like the trust in what they're sharing as well. Like I often find people born with Mercury retrograde are really scared to share, whether it's through
Oh yeah.
speaking, whether it's through writing, any like method of communication. There can be this like, oh, all this like, there's often this like evolutionary drive of I want to share and I want to express myself, but like I'm so scared too, and I feel like there can be this like fear of like I can't communicate in an intelligent way, or I'm going to embarrass myself. And then you can like, there's a turning point where it's like they just do it and they start sharing. And then they have that like shift where it's like, I feel more trust in myself and what I'm sharing.
That's a really good point also. I hadn't really put the two together, but that's true. They are sort of shy and kind of cack out their tongue. I have found you can almost tell. And then on the flip side, you can tell when someone has a strong Mercury too, because as a reader, I can't get a word in edgewise. I'm like, you hired me. Like, like I found like, especially when Mercury's at any degree that adds to 9, 18, or 27, they're just will not stop, just nonstop talking. What energetically, I'm curious, do you also into Chiron? And you have brought a lot of like connections between Chiron and Mercury, that there's sort of a familiar connection there. Now, do you believe that Mercury is the ruler of Virgo as well?
Yeah, I like Mercury works in some ways for Virgo, but I think Chiron works as an amazing co-ruler of Virgo, and also Vesta. The goddess Vesta. I work with her as like a strong. To me, like actually, if I had to pick any plant, or I guess point I'm working with, like I love Vesta. I just have an affinity for her. So I like consider her as kind of like my main ruler of Virgo, but definitely Chiron I put in the Virgo realm as well.
Of course, a mermaid would choose Vesta, but like,
Yes, I
I think
love.
that's mermaid prejudice. No, I'm just kidding. I see Vesta. I see a lot of Virgo and Vesta too. The reason why I lean towards with Chiron is just because of the healing aspect that Virgos are always obsessed with. It's just so strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Chiron being the greatest teacher of so many forms of healing arts, and the first, herbalist essentially. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you work a lot with Chiron and Mercury together. Do I understand that correctly?
Well, so maybe not necessarily together. Kind of right now, I am particularly because we have this dance of this current Mercury retrograde. Mercury's making three passes with Chiron. Well, one we've already had. It was with the equinox. Mercury conjuncted Chiron, and then we'll have Mercury will retrograde and conjunct Chiron, and then actually on the cross quarter, about the solar cross quarter, about May 6th, Mercury is going to make the third pass to Chiron. And with Chiron, we have this ongoing like Chiron North Node conjunction. So we're just in this time period of immense potential for healing like we've never had before, to really activate our healing gifts, open up new pathways with that North Node there. And Aries all about new pathways and new directions in life. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde, particularly how it's dancing with Chiron, and the North Node, Mercury won't actually retrograde. The North Node will already make its way past where Mercury's retrograding, the North Node also going backwards, but it's really triggering this Mercury or this Chiron North Node conjunction. I think Mercury is like telling us, okay, it's like helping us heal whatever like self-limiting ways of perceiving, or particularly in Aries, our self-identity. What are the false stories around our self-identity that need to transform so we can have that Chiron healing, so we can open up that North Node and that new direction. So I've been working a lot with it, like in the readings I've been doing currently for people. But I mean, there is some similarity with Hermes, the alchemist, and Chiron, this like master healer as well. And it all starts with the mind as well. Usually if we heal what's happening in that mental realm, there's always that mental component with our healing. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it makes total sense. This impression I got was really from the fact that Mercury's about to do a triple pass over over Chiron, sorry. And plus the solar eclipse on April 8th is smack on Chiron at 19 degrees and the
Yeah.
moon. So to me, I'm wondering what your thoughts are. I'd like to hear your thoughts on both the eclipses, but since we're on this one, let's talk here. It seems to me, I'm wondering what you feel this eclipse is about, because it's pretty powerful. It crosses, it's across America. So I kind of feel like my opinion is if you witness it, God was talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, this is for you, which is right through like Texas. So Texas is getting some sort of a wake up call. But to me, the fact that the sun and the moon will come together with on Chiron in eclipse almost feels like it's some sort of an announcement of a healing, all like the old evangelical church, like heal, like where people fall backwards. It's almost like God is saying that to us, that we are healed. What is your impression of it?
Exactly. I really feel that we are in this time period, and particularly it's that April 8th eclipse conjunct Chiron. Also, we have on the equinox chart, Hygeia, the goddess of healing, the daughter of Asclepius, the goddess of healing, was exactly conjunct Neptune as well. So between
Wow.
that and then this exact total solar eclipse conjunct Chiron, and Mercury is like right there in that eclipse action as well. I really feel that we have the potential to have healing like we've never had before, and to create ripples, like essentially just like in Aries, right? Opening up new pathways, new directions in life. And healing often, it's like sounds, wow, that sounds really great and really nice. The healing journey is often not easy. The Chiron journey is
Right.
very, very challenging. So, I always remind people we're listening to that. It's like, when, like, if you're in it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really confronted with stuff, really having a hard time, that you can know that even as hard as it is, and to really like validate that experience, it's setting the trajectory for healing. I feel like whatever is happening, we might not actually, maybe some of us will, like, we might not see it the moment of that eclipse, but karmic things are happening with that eclipse for our greatest healing, and to really essentially open us up to our highest pathway.
Mm. Well, I concur. In fact, to take it like a step farther, I feel, first of all, I feel like this whole life has been healing up until now, for the most part. That seems to be the theme. And I feel like this moment of the eclipse is the moment, like, particularly in society where we have these grabs for power, whether it's economic or it's medical or whatever the different, whatever the problems we are facing right now, there's a top-down power problem. And I feel like the world has been, this has happened because people have been so sick or thought they were sick. And I kind of feel this is a turning point in the world power structure, because after this eclipse, I feel like people are going to say, I'm not the problem. You're the problem. Like, I think it's the big shift in, like, suddenly, and the people have been, who have been taking advantage suddenly have a healed population that can see the bull shift. And so I feel like in the world struggle, it is a turn of the narrative is what I feel intuitively about this.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that, like the narrative bringing like Mercury in, which is so much about our narrative and our stories. And I feel that way too. And I've shared about it in a little bit of a different way, but I think it's speaking to the same exact thing that you're speaking of, because, Aries it's that cardinal spark of life, right? Aries is so much about the flow of our energy and the direction of the flow of our life force energy. And so, what I sense is this eclipse is wanting to really heal anything that's been kind of blocking or stagnating the flow of our life force energy. So if we look at like all the Aries stuff, like it might be from not feeling like safe to show up in our authenticity, like the I am that I am. I feel like that Chiron and Aries is helping us all heal that I am that I am.
Yeah.
Or did it not feel safe to show up in my authenticity? And when we're not showing up in our authentic way, when we're hiding aspects of ourselves and taking on other aspects that aren't truly authentic to us, it suppresses and creates energetic blockages. But a lot of that
Mm,
is the product of exactly this old way of being. And exactly like you said, this like kind of that last power grab of this old top down, these power struggles, like I kind of call it like the power over, or the old dominator culture. They've kept
yeah.
us so distracted, and whether it's been, we've had so much toxicity in our environment where so many people are sick and just like running on that hamster wheel, trying to get by, this like old debt-based way of living. It's kept people so distracted and so sick. And it's really like depleted people's life force energy. And I feel like this eclipse with Chiron there and Aries really wants to help like heal whatever's been suppressing our life force energy, and to like kind of get that like jolt, get our life force energy back flowing. So we have the energy and vitality, because Aries is like, to me, from an evolutionary perspective, it's like, wow, I have my whole life ahead of me. Like, I want to do this and that and that. And it like wants to bring that like childlike sense of joy of living. Like most people in this kind of old way of, who are really tapped into that world, aren't joyful because they're just trying to get by. And I always tell people that I actually feel like healing whatever we need to heal so we can truly be like joyful and like lit up and excited about life, like that is actually like a direct threat to those powers that shouldn't be, because they don't want us living that way. That energy
Right.
magnetic. It's really powerful magnetic energy. When you get in that energetic flow, things just start like flowing to you.
Yeah. And those who've been controlling start to lose power. I find that it's also a turning point for the Aries species, like the Aries people, because,
Yeah.
and I joke in my show that like the age of Aries, they were conquerors and brutal. Age of Pisces, they turned into heroes. The age of Aquarius, they're out of a job. Like Aries don't know what to do anymore now that violence and conquering is no longer cool. And I kind of feel like they themselves have guilt and karma and issues of having been aggressive or overly aggressive or violent or being a subject to violence, and to me, this is like 19, the degree 19. I love degrees and that's my whole thing. But 19 is the degree before the third decan. And I look at the third decan as mastery. So to me, this eclipse at 19 to me is the completion of all of our mundane self that prevents us from reaching that mastery. So I feel like this is a moment that opens the door for everyone to master their ego and come into their most pristine and beautiful expression of their character, which is what I feel the top decan of Aries is character, really.
Oh, I love that. That just like I'm getting chills as you're sharing that.
Yeah. Yay. Yay to the Aries out there. They're getting a makeover. So,
Including me,
the
Aries sun.
say again.
Is it including me, Aries sun?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, well, we'll talk about it backstage too. I'll get deep on your chart, but uh, the retrograde actually ends on your sun. So I want to actually talk about that. But the Mercury retrograde that we have on April Fool's Day, which is sort of interesting because I think it's almost the end of the fool, this Mercury retrograde. I mean, the irony of it, it's like I'm no longer thinking of myself as a fool. I'm no longer the fool card in tarot. To me, it's like some sort of maturing there. But it goes from April Fool's Day to April 25th, and it goes from 27 Aries to 15 Aries, and then it stations direct on your sun. So, how do you interpret this particular retrograde? You've talked about it crossing over Chiron, but is there a bigger scope that you're seeing this fall under?
Yeah, I'm my intuitive sense is that the invitation of this Mercury retrograde is to heal the false beliefs and stories, particularly around our self identity, so we can essentially live more in alignment to kind of our like radiant magical selves. Because I do feel like Aries and a pure archetypal essence can be like kind of the divine child. I mean, you could say other signs as well, like Gemini and Leo, but and also healing where we haven't felt safe to just show up in our authenticity and our authentic selves. I mean, there's kind of also Mercury stationing retrograde, kind of, close to Eris. And I feel like there's a big, really powerful healing potential of this Mercury retrograde. It might seem a little counterintuitive to some of what we're taught about Mercury retrograde, but to actually maybe have some of those like challenging and difficult conversations with people where we kind of say directly maybe what we've not felt safe to have shared. So it's also kind of playing with the South Node and Libra
Yeah.
invitation and heal some of that karma. But that's kind of a big thing about Eris, is like pulling up the rug and taking a look at what's under the rug that we haven't felt safe to share. And with that kind of Chiron and North Node also there, is like that could be incredibly powerful and healing. So I see this invitation to really show up, to heal what's been preventing us from really showing up in our most authentic way. And at least during the Cazimi, Mars, the kind of what I would consider like the temple keeper of the Aries mysteries, you might call like just the ruler. That would be another way people would say it. But Mars is in Pisces at the time that Mercury is going Cazimi, which also tells me, okay, we can be authentic and authentically ourselves, but we can also do it in a compassionate way as well. So it doesn't have to be a this or that. It doesn't actually, and with Mercury retrograde, maybe it's not this like fierce, raw kind of Aries way we might think about. With Mars there in Pisces, we can be direct and authentic, but we can also like have some of that Pisces compassion with it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant analysis. I love it. And I agree with you with the South Node in Libra. I've been telling people I think we're going to see a ton of breakups in April as a result of this retrograde. I think where and I agree, it's going to be a compassionate conversation where it's just like, she's really not that into you, like just a kind of like it's the ego wanted, the ego fought, the ego is pushing for something, but Mars and Pisces, it's like, it's not what your soul's calling for. It's what your ego's been pushing for. So I feel like there's a lot of coming out of the closet about how we had the wrong motives, ultimately, wrong motives that wasn't aligned with our heart. And maybe we're doing it, we're doing it to be accepted, or we're doing it for power. Or we're doing it because we were pushed to, or that was a cool thing to do, and so that realization of a little bit of a humility, a little of emperor with no clothes kind of moment, possibly for those who've been a little much of a tyrant. What is your opinion about the degree it starts and stops on? Do you have any theories about that, as far as kind of, do you label a Mercury retrograde transit as something like, does it have a title, each one?
Gosh, I should give a title to each one. I like my
Try
Pisces
it. It
Mercury
works.
is always like, everything's always like an energetic sense, and getting the specific. That's why I actually love anytime I've tuned into your work, you are like so brilliant with your words. And I always really appreciate that about people who have that gift, because my Pisces Mercury is just like, there's like a sense of it, and hopefully I can find words to like communicate it. But I mean, I look at kind
Thank
of
you.
what's the energy of where the transit chart of where Mercury is stationing retrograde. So like, I'm saying, okay, Mercury's pretty close to Eris there. So that's going to give this like strong Eris energy. And then I really look at the Cazimi chart as like probably the big like Mercury retrograde theme, and Mercury's very close to Chiron and that Cazimi chart. So I see, wow, really powerful full healing here. And then also look at the chart where Mercury is stationing direct as well. But also just a random thought that came in was I also sense that this Mercury retrograde, where have we been stuck in indecision, like that kind of polarity point with Libra and working with that South Node in Libra, because Aries is a very decisive, and I mean, maybe this would be like a title too, I don't know, but like Aries is such a decisive energy that, maybe we don't like start taking action on the decision, but I do feel like it'll be a very clarifying time to like where we've been stuck in indecision. And like you said, maybe like on relationships, like, okay, actually, this isn't working for me. Like I'm going to have that Aries kind of split break. Or maybe it is working for me and I'm going to commit to it. But I feel like it's going to help us arrive at a decision where we've been indecisive. And, maybe we wait till after eclipse season and after Mercury's direct to take action, but also listen to your own intuition. Because sometimes it's like, even though, astrologers, they don't do anything new, like you've had great experiences, it sounds like launching things during Mercury retrograde. So maybe, I always just say, listen to your own intuition on timing. Your own inner gnosis will know better than like hard, rigid rules around do this, don't do this during astrological transits.
I think part of my soul is just a wizard. And it's like, I
Yeah,
like to go ahead and do like a wardrobe change and a set change while everyone's distracted. And they come back. I'm like, ta-da! Like, look what I did. Like, where you were all confused about who you were. I did this. Um,
that's awesome.
I personally, so in my work, I mean, I'm a degree expert. That's my thing. I call it step astrology. I'm obsessed with it. And for me, I've noticed in my research that the degree that the Mercury first retrogrades at, that degree, I've felt like that's the goal of the retrograde. Like
Mm.
that the goal of the retrograde is, I want to achieve this degree. In this case, it's 27, which is the Grand Master of Aries in my system. So that means that I want to change. I feel like I want to change my mind about my character, who I'm going to become. So I feel like, and then it retrogrades all the way back to 15, which to me is what we create, or our relationships. So to me, wherever it stations direct is where, in order for that to happen, this is going to have to change. So for me, that's what I've noticed. But take a look, do the research. I don't
Wow,
want, I don't
that's
expect anyone
so
just to believe something
brilliant.
I say.
I love that. I mean, I just have the intuitive like sense that, wow, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, and then of course, it takes until Mercury comes out of shadow for you to have arrived at that, at least arrived to it intellectually, where your mind's no longer arguing. But I love your perspective of the Kazemi. There's something important about the Kazemi, which I am not paying enough attention to. And you bring
I
it out to be
found
22 makes me go, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Cause
like listen, because oftentimes, we might be really inspired. Like, I get like inspiring ideas and thoughts all the time. And it's like so many of them, I can't really, like, a lot of them just come and go, but it's like I always make sure when there's the Kazemi, like, listen to that, like, write it down, journal about it, remember it. Like, don't just let that come and go, because if I consciously work with it, like, there's something there's something to it. And I found too, the Cazimi is an amazing, I've actually launched stuff, or so many astrologers say, don't do anything new on Mercury retrograde. I don't follow those hard and fast rules. I've learned to have a reverence, because I've also been schooled by Mercury about, okay, there is like a rationale for why. Just don't get into a fear-based thing. Like, understand why there's this guidance and meet it in an empowered way. But I do find the Cazimi, like, I've launched things on the Cazimi, and I've had like really amazing kind of like success with actually like putting it out there on the Cazimi as well. So there's a lot of like fun ways you can work with that energy. And if you resonate with doing like ceremony or ritual and these kinds of things, it can be really powerful to do that with the Cazimi. And I love to actually go outside when Mercury's Cazimi, and actually, like, because when it's like the solar rays are traveling past Mercury to us. And so it's like, even when I go outside and feel the sunlight on my skin, I can feel
Wow.
the real energy, and it's very, very powerful. I mean, you can kind of, do like the magician tarot card thing, one hand to the sky, one hand to
Wow,
the
that's
earth.
cool.
Very powerful. Yeah.
That's really good insight. A Kazemi sunbath. Who wants to
Yeah.
go Kazemi sunbathing with me in Texas? And I love your use of the word Kazemi. It's almost like Kazemi. Like you've turned into like Eureka. It's like a Eureka word for you. It's cool. Like
I love
Kazemi. I figured it out. Kazemi. That's
I
a great
love
new
that.
word. Yeah, I'm gonna use that now. Everybody's gonna hear me like Kazemi, Gesundheit. But how fun is that? So, in the context of the South Node, the North Node, I'm wondering, how do you see this? North Node's been at 15 forever.
Yeah, I know.
Like God is just drilling in that like elbow in the back, like you will figure this out. What do you feel that? I mean, it's smack in the center, regardless of the degree. It's like smack in the center.
Yeah.
It's been there. Is it there during the eclipse? I don't even know. Is it still 15 at the eclipse?
Oh, I have it. I have
You have it handy?
yeah, I have the eclipse chart open. Oh, hold on, let me find it. I have it right here. On that total solar eclipse. Oh, yeah, it's still at 15.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So God's not messing around with that particular one. And the weird thing is like 15 to me adds to a 6, so it's a Libra degree.
Mm.
And Libra is the balance, and 15 is the balance between both sides. So it's just so perfect the way that works out. So
Yeah.
it seems to me that there's this real push from the universe to like come into balance. I call it the path of least resistance, just because Aries is resistance. And so to me, like Aries is the mountain, and like 15 is like the way through the mountains, like the valley, the walk through the mountains. It seems, and to me, it represents where God is almost saying with the planets, like it's time to end the resistance with yourself in your character. So you talk about removing the parts of ourselves that have kept us from being who we are. We're facing that. And to me, part of that is, when you say with Mercury, self-limited beliefs, I think with Aries or the Sun in Aries, it's really like self-limited behavior, like where we work against ourselves, or we make it harder than it needs to be, or we just add all these restrictions. Like I can't do it unless I have this, 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 and this. So we just make it the most impossible task. And it seems like we have become our own, force against ourselves. So it seems there's like an element in this eclipse that's saying, you got this. Just go with what is most easy, what's most laid out, the yellow brick road. Do you have theories on the North Node in the center of Aries?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I really kind of I have a similar sense. I love the way you say it. It's like so brilliant and like a different way than I've ever said it. So I love that. Yeah, I mean, it is to me like making it halfway through the sign. It's like there's something really significant from an evolutionary perspective of like we're smack dab in the center of that Aries Libra energy. And I feel like it is this like really powerful initiation to, okay, like, are you finally gonna let go of caring so much about what other people think and people pleasing, and that pure kind of in the middle of Aries energy? It's like, just go for it. Just go for your own wants and needs and desires, and kind of healing like where we felt like kind of healing the wound of where we felt actually like sacred selfness is selfish. I mean, of course, that won't be the lesson for everyone. Some people are off way far on the other end of the spectrum, but I would imagine overwhelmingly, probably pretty much everyone here is in the empathic camp, where it's like, where have we actually felt like our own wants and needs and desires are actually selfish? And it's like healing that wound of that story around it and having that sacred selfness. And then those that are on that same wavelength, those that want to go on the ride with us can go on the ride with us, and others with that Libra South Node, those that we've been on the ride with maybe aren't meant to continue going on the ride with us, you know?
I agree. I concur completely. I feel like this is probably, I feel that since Neptune went into Pisces in 2012 and has climbed up through Pisces, we have been sort of becoming aware of our spiritual paths, our spiritual habits, our karma, all this stuff. And my big picture analysis is once Saturn hit Pisces last year, we were coming to the conclusion of Neptune and Pisces, where Saturn's here is like, okay, you've been taught, now let's make some decisions. And I feel like as Saturn came out of the first decan, we realized where we were letting ourselves down, where our karma is with ourselves. And so long story short, too late, it feels like we've grown. And so we've outgrown a lot of relationships. So we're based on our karma and based on our weaknesses, based on our self-deprecation, based on our self-limited thinking. And so it's not even like a bitter divorce. It's sort of like, thank you for teaching me this. It's now time for me to move on. And I feel like and then Jupiter and Gemini this summer, I feel like it's the summer of love, because you have all these people who are freed from their own self-limitation, and they've just left the person that was tied to that. And I think it's just going to be a love fest personally with Jupiter and Gemini. Like, hey, how are you? How are you? Let's chat. Like, I think it's gonna be a lot of that going on.
Oh, I love that. And there's also a Venus Sun conjunction and Gemini this summer too. So I love that.
I know, that's totally. And it stays there for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Like the conjunction, I mean, within an orb, like it's just like the sun and Venus are just making love. Now, I personally feel like that's how it always works before shift's about to hit the fan, because then Pluto goes back into Capricorn in September. So it's like, oh, party over, bitter into the party. So I think sort of God's like, let's celebrate before the world goes through one of its hardest challenges in the history of Earth.
But you know what? Time. If you have that love, it makes going through all of that so much easier.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. It's like, at least we'll die together, honey. So with you being a 15 Aries, that means you are the path of least resistance. That's maybe the gold in the Goldstein there, Jaime.
I love that. Yeah. Years or the eclipses in 2022, the South Node was on the degree of my moon for all those eclipses.
Oh my goodness.
The North Node on the degree of my sun. So it's kind of very interesting.
God's doing a job. I mean, it's a makeover for you. No question. Skipping a little bit closer in time to the lunar eclipse happening on Monday. Wondering what your thoughts are on that, because it's the precursor to this great event that we're talking about happening on April 8th. It's a lunar eclipse in Libra at 5 degrees. To me, 5 is a mercurial degree, by the way. So Mercury is 5. So to me, this is a Mercury ruled eclipse. The sun at 5 Aries, the moon at 5 Libra. What is your thought on this event? What is your thought on lunar eclipses? First of all, like, how do you see a lunar eclipse versus a solar? And then what about this one?
Yeah. So, lunar eclipses, they can be these times of really big reveal, especially from our unconscious. I kind of have a multidimensional perspective. It's kind of, we're all going to experience a little bit of a different way, but essentially big invitation for a huge karmic release. And to me, it's like a big karmic release that's leading up to that April 8th total solar eclipse, and kind of on the same things, huge karmic release around Libra themes, the relationships, indecision, those kinds of, probably most of us might have big karmic things around relationships. I think it's interesting that with that Libra lunar eclipse, Venus is conjunct Saturn. And then the total solar eclipse, Mars is conjunct Saturn. So we have this like Libra eclipse, Libra or Venus is with Saturn, the Aries eclipse, Mars is with Saturn. So there's something really powerful I'm sensing about like spiritual maturity. And I think you kind of spoke to that, where it's like, okay, like we really have to like up level and like we really have to like up level and like kind of walk the walk with our spiritual maturity. I feel like there's a big theme around that. And also, but spiritual maturity, like with Saturn Venus and Mars with Saturn, it might actually mean something a bit different than what we might typically think of maturity. That's a little bit of a tangent, and I don't even have an answer. It's been more of like a question and a contemplation. But I see like big karmic things around relationships, that we're here, old karmic patterns that are just not serving us. I feel like with Venus with Saturn, it's really saying like, okay, like these old patterns have got to go. Like, you've been playing it out for too long. It's like, this is time to like really be committed. With Saturn, with that energy of commitment and devotion and maturity, it's like you really need to commit to really taking a more mature approach now, is what I'm sensing. And it's leading us up to that Aries solar eclipse. And so, and also knowing that, you know, if we can work with the energy consciously, it always makes so much easier than we're unconsciously working with the energy. Because, you know, evolutionary speaking, the energy is going to push us towards our evolution, whether we like it or not. But things go a lot easier when we consciously do the work to do it.
Totally. Tell us a little bit real quick before we talk about where people can find you. How did you come about to do this summit? That's awesome. The Mercury Retrograde Alchemy Summit you did in May 2021. You told us the Mercury 4-month part of it. So that's cool. Thank you for that astrological construction.
Yeah.
But what was this summit? I think it's a brilliant idea. You assembled a bunch of astrologers. Tell me how that unfolded for you.
I know. I wish I had invited you to it.
I wish I was invited.
I know. Maybe I'll do a part two. It was very funny. I didn't plan on doing it, but you know, I'd seen people do, you know, I mean, they're like all over the place. Everybody does their summit. I signed up for like 1 million of them, and often I sign up for so many I don't even like get to watch them. I just I have Venus and Gemini. I have this like FOMO of information. I'm like, I'm going to miss out.
Right.
But you know, I'd seen all these people doing these summits, and I wasn't planning on doing one, but Mercury went Kazemi in Aquarius, and I was, you know, I was doing astrology, just starting to do astrology full time at that point.
Oh, wow.
And it was like Mercury actually spoke to me and was just like, I don't know. I mean, it was like a lightning bolt Aquarian. Actually, it's like, I'm like saying it like a linear thing, but it actually just happened like all at once. But it was like, do a summit, call it Mercury Retrograde Alchemy Summit. Actually, like the description of the summit, like all the write-up for it, the copy for it, it just all came instantly. I wrote it down. Usually I would spend like days and days or like weeks trying to like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to write and I can't get it, but it just all came instantly. And I wrote everything down, and I had no idea how to do a summit. And I just kind of looked online a little bit and I just wung it. Winging it. Like my Pisces.
Sure, wung it. Like that. Kazemi, I wung it.
My Pisces Mercury like always has such a hard time with like language. But yeah, so I just emailed like my favorite astrologers, and especially astrologers that worked a lot with Mercury. And I was like, I'm really excited about this. And like, I had no way, like I didn't have connections. I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to even say yes. It was like, I felt embarrassed even just like reaching out to so many astrologers, because I'm like, they don't know. I'm like, no one in the astrology world, you know, but somehow I just wrote a very like passionate, convincing email, and a few astrologers said yes. And then once I like could share, these astrologers are part of it, other astrologers started saying yes. And like astrologers like that I could only dream to ever talk to are actually like some of my best friends now, which is really cool. But
Wow.
anyways, yeah. So I figured I didn't even know how to like build a website. I had to just like, I just went to like online as searches and figured out how to do like everything. And it was totally like spontaneous on the go. And I was figuring it out along the way in a very like new kind of Mercury energy kind of way. And yeah, and it was amazing. It actually like, before I did the summit, I was really struggling financially because I was teaching yoga full time before everything shut down in 2020, and doing astrology on the side, but like at the yoga studio. So like my yoga students like would come and get astrology readings, and then everything shut down. I like was like, oh my gosh, like my bank account like went down to like zero, you know. And doing the summit, it essentially all of a sudden like I was really like taking off of astrology, and people started booking readings, and I started filling up my calendar and getting invited to do like other things. And it actually like totally changed my whole life and actually really like set me on my astrology path and allowed me to do it. So because before I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get another job and blah, blah, blah. And then I did the summit and it really like, it truly changed everything. I mean, it wasn't just like a piece of cake after that, but essentially that was a huge like temporal marker for like everything changing in my life. And so, yeah, it was very spontaneous. I just got the divine message and I ran with it.
I do wish I could have been there. I do have a little FOMO, I did miss out on it. It seems like a constitutional convention with a bunch of forefathers talking about Mercury.
It's so fun, but we'll do like a 2.0. That'll be even better.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, we'll find, or maybe it's Uranus or maybe something else. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's an exciting thing to have professionals like that. And I feel like with Pluto and Aquarius, there's this real, I'm just feeling this call to come together now. And that's why I do this show. It's just like, I've been in my own tunnel for 18 years now on YouTube. And it's like, I want to meet my colleagues, like my other fellow astrologers out there. So congratulations for you bringing together a community like that. I know the work involved. So bravo to you.
Thank you.
Did you walk away with like a new understanding of Mercury?
Oh, totally. Yeah, especially how to really work with it. And I mean, that was kind of my whole thing. I was already working with Mercury retrogrades in a very different way, but it totally solidified for me that like there is a really empowered way to meet Mercury retrogrades that don't have to be like rooted in fear and like don't leave your
Yeah.
house for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, totally. I look forward to him personally. And I feel like it's also a time where I don't have to, for me, it's like a time off. Like I'm a hard worker. I'm always working with Mercury's retrograde. I'm like, yeah, Mercury's retrograde. We'll get it. We can do it. Oh, here's one last question I want to ask you. What about the myth or the truth of starting something in a retrograde? Is that not a good thing to do?
To me, there's like never one size fits all. Like, you know, I found people actually do start things because I've looked at it a lot in readings, and I've actually seen people have like amazing success with starting things with Mercury retrograde. There often will be a component of you'll have to go back and like really refine things and maybe do something again, and that can be really annoying and shifted, and maybe it changes in a little bit of a different way. And you might actually the whole starting it, like being that seeding point during a Mercury retrograde, kind of the whole trajectory, you might find you have to do a little more refinement and going back and redoing things. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because that's part of the refinement and improvement process. I always tell people like really just tune in with your own intuition, because if you're like really inspired to start something and it feels right, like don't just not do it because it's Mercury retrograde. Because I have seen like really great success with things that have been started. I mean, I think in general, I think there is wisdom in like letting it be more, you can start something, but maybe don't launch it, like do more of the planning and the collaborating and talking with people on like the back end work, like get the website done or like whatever it is. I do find there is wisdom in keeping it more of like the planning during Mercury retrograde.
Brilliant. The only advice I give as an astrologer is I say, if you come up with the idea during retrograde, don't spend money until it's direct. Like don't put yourself on the line, because there's something about, to me, you see both sides of the idea in a retrograde, and it's like you're missing one side if you just came up with it in the retrograde. So make sure you see the other side of it. But if
Yeah,
someone thought of an idea before retrograde, I always say green light to go ahead and do it in the
totally.
retrograde, because again, you're seeing the other side, whatever that perspective shift is, you're seeing the other side. So it's pretty much well thought, because you've seen it in direct and you've seen it in retrograde. So interesting about that. Well, we could talk forever, Mercury 29 Pisces. Um, but I want to talk about where people can find you. You're offering a free 5-day Embody the Empowered Expressions of Personal Planets offering on your site. That's a way to get to know you. What is this program, the 5-day Embody the Empowered Expressions? You like the ease there.
Yeah, so essentially it's just there's a video on each of the personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and how to embody those in an empowered way. So like we kind of go over some of the shadow expressions of like ways you can embody the energy, and then more like high vibrational or like conscious, inspired expressions. And so just to help people become more aware of, how can I really embody these energies in a very intentional and empowered way?
Brilliant. That's so nice and generous of you to give. for people. You obviously offer readings, I'm assuming.
I do. I do. I'm kind of doing just a very small amount of readings right now with
With the
my
baby.
baby, but I do have, I'm doing a small amount of readings right now, and then I'm sure I'll pick it back up a little bit later this year, and I'll start teaching again later this year probably as well.
Gotcha. So you're a little, so that's a newborn. How many months?
Well, he just turned 7 months, but I'm loving getting to just be fully present to him at this really precious age. I've been working in kind of a non-conventional way. I don't know. I've never heard anyone else do this, but I just do readings with people who are like have the flexibility to start with his nap time, and so we have like kind of loose start times, and then either I'm actually like he's like I'm holding him asleep during the reading, or my partner's holding him. But yeah, so I have a little bit of an unconventional way of working right now.
Well, that's fine. I think it works. It's all in the stars. And if you don't spoil that little Leo baby boy, it's going to be a disaster. So you're on the right path there. Her website is astrologywithjamie.com. Her YouTube channel is also at Astrology with Jamie. I noticed you released a video not too long ago, a few days ago. So it seems like you're finding the time for that when you can, but the baby has to come first. I'm sure a lot of people should at least bookmark you and get on your wait list, because I think you've inspired a lot of people here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just truly honored. I mean, it's like, wow, I'm like pinching myself that I'm even here.
Oh, thank you. What a kind Aries. Must be the new Aries. Well, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to stay backstage for a couple minutes. Afterwards, we're just going to close up the show, and maybe we can catch up with Mara and have a closing word backstage. So is that cool?
I love that.
Okay, great. Stand by. We'll be right back with you. And let's see here. To our audience, that was lovely. I'm sure I knew her as a mermaid in Atlantis. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure we've known each other. There's a great synergy there. Thank you so much to Jaime Goldstein for taking time. And I'm sure her partner was taking care of the baby. So as we depart here, hey, Unite the Light 2024, let's co-create. We have pre-ticket sales right now for May 18th and 19th. It's in Austin, Texas. We chose that because of the energy, because it's going to be in the afterglow of the eclipse. So it's about a month after the eclipse, after God has kissed that whole region of the country. I personally find that there's a lot of light workers in Austin. There's a lot of influencers in Austin. There was a great migration to Austin. So if you haven't been there since all these people left California and New York to go to Austin, you're in for a treat for that just alone. But this is going to be an amazing experience, full of light workers. We're going to have a phenomenal dinner on Saturday night. It's all white linen and it's all plated. We're going to have entertainment. We're going to have lectures, innovative lectures about things happening in the lightwork industry, and an amazing 4-panel day on Sunday. You don't want to miss this. Let me just tell you, if your heart is saying you should, you should. Don't let money get in the way of this. We've actually priced this very reasonably. We have 2 tiers of tickets. The dinner's very expensive, unfortunately. So the difference between the two is really VIP status and also that plated dinner. But we'd love to have you there. And if you're interested, you can do pre-sale tickets right now at unitethelight.love, unitethelight.love. Now, that said, we'd like to keep our crew in the family of light. So we are looking for some help. One, I mentioned, we're looking for sponsors who want to advertise with what we're doing. And this begins with Unite the Light. If you have a product, a do-good product, we're not putting Pepsi as a sponsor of this thing, okay? We're not going to put any low vibration brands. We're looking for high vibration brands who want to put their word out in front of 500 or more, like I'm not going to tell you what the limits are, of light workers and people who are do-good people. If you want to be in front of those people, if you want to do business with those people, this is a great opportunity to get your brand and name in front of the people that will make a difference and carry your brand to the next level. If you're interested in being a sponsor, or you want to recommend someone that we should contact, we'd love to hear from you at support@seriousjoy.com. That said, I will say also, in the city of Austin. So if you live in Austin right now, we're looking for a great AV tech company right now in Austin. We wouldn't mind people who want to volunteer at the event from Austin. And we're also interested in finding an MC, a charismatic MC who lives in the Austin area. So if you're one of those, we'd also like to hear from you at support@seriousjoy.com. Now, seriousjoy.com is, in my opinion, the most loving, accurate astrology service on earth. It comes with all the 13 mega monthlies. You have a pep talk 7 days a week. We have a full faculty of astrologers, sound healers, angel readers. We have an artisan who does spiritual ceremonies with the lunar events, and we have more coming onto our staff. Recently adding Witecki, which is a new astrologer out in New York who's joined our team, and Gwen English, who's joined our team as well, Witecki Okamoto. So we are growing like wildfire, and we have this whole staff of wisdom, and we deliver it to you for the first month for $3.99, and then it's just $19.95. So it's $5 a week to be handheld and coached 7 days a week. You get 7 messages a day. So if you don't log in, we send a message to you. We're always with you at Serious Joy. Give it a try for just $3.99 if you've never tried before. We also have a special live show on our network every week. It's on Wednesdays. Last week we did the dodecahedron activation with Kristen Ryder. Phenomenal. It's part of our 40 days of past lives and karma, which is wrapping up here in the next week. It'll be wrapped by step 9 Aries. This week, it's the mega golden address with yours truly. And I will be on camera with one of our subscribers who I will be talking through their mega monthly or their golden egg project. So this will be a great show. It'll be live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on our network at SeriousJoy.com. You'll be learning about the whole month of Aries. You got a little bit of a preview of it tonight because we have that 3-week retrograde. We got a massive solar eclipse. Aries in April is going to change the world, folks. So this is just one of the many features you get by being a subscriber to Serious Joy, not to mention you are supporting people who are making a difference. So again, give it a try, SeriousJoy.com. You will not regret it. Everyone has told me who's joined has said it's changed their life. Honestly, you can feel my heart on that one. Sharing is caring. The best thing you can do to give back, if you'd like to give back in a mutually give and take relationship, is to share Namaste Today live with your friends and family, particularly our horoscopes that go live on Tuesdays. Just send someone their horoscope. Send a Taurus that horoscope. I'm sure it's going to speak. I mean, you know from tonight, what I just did, it's going to speak to what they need to hear. It's the medicine. So you are doing us a phenomenal gift by sharing us on your YouTube, sharing us on your social media, sharing us on your Twitter, on your Facebook. That is the best thing you can do. It's the greatest gift. When I see my stuff shared, first of all, I always like it and I send some love, but I sit there and I pray and I say thank you to that person right there for doing it. Some people don't have the time, but they do have the money. So if that's the case, you can actually donate directly at paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. Money is a beautiful tool that gets things done. And if you haven't noticed, I'm taking all the money we make and I'm investing it back into humanity. So it's money well spent. We do have a Facebook group called seriousjoy.club. This is where we come together. You're allowed to advertise your spiritual lightworking business. We only have like 3 basic rules: be compassionate, no politics. And we have a new 3rd rule: no talk of medical procedures, like no talk of medical procedures, because we're trying to make a spiritual club and we're trying to keep the issues of the world out of this club. There's plenty of places on the planet, on the internet, to argue. This isn't one of them. We also have a Chiron study group, which helps you to learn different aspects of spirituality, tarot cards, and human design. Free, of course, hosted by many people, but a shout out to Stephanie Whittaker, one of the founders of that. Follow us if you like to follow us on social media. I've got like a presence in so many places. It's like it's a full-time job to post. It's at seriousjoy.social if you want to follow us. There's also a couple of interviews where I'm on the interview there. Well, I should put my latest one with Scott on there. I just realized. So yeah, I'll be adding some on there. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, hey, we understand. We do an audio version of the show on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcast. Check it out. I want to give special thanks to our show producer, Noel Way, our casting director, Mara Moon. Thank you very much. Our director, Sarah Lyman, and my entire teaching faculty, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Doer, Joe Zammett, Gwen English, Witecki Okamoto, and Heather Exposito. Say that 1,000 times. Also, special thanks to all of our super friends in the chat. We love you so much. We love Iggy. We love Neat. I think it's Neat is the new one. Neato, is that, if I'm mistaken? Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, Sydney, my soul brother, Daryl Blankenship. Always good to see you, brother. Kat Ryder, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, Erica, always a pleasure. Experimental Elemental, I always see you in the chat. Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Libran Lauren, Princess Coffee Bean, Jill Louise, Margot Malia, and anyone I haven't named. I start to pay attention to who's here all the time. Michelle Camper, of course, Sydney, we all love you. Thank you for being a part of this. All right, friends. And Jamar, that was who I wanted to add, Jamar as well. All right, friends, that's all we have for this week. It's going to be a fabulous week. I may be on Earth 3 next week. I hope you'll be too. We'll be broadcasting from Earth 3 next Friday. Until then, I love you. Live, love, be.
It's serious joy.